and there's a guy stuck 10 feet right in front of me, so can I make a line quickly to the left to kind of jig my way over to the left to then start using that line? Because all of this is rideable, it's just that some of this, the rocks are a little bit more spaced out, and it looks a little bit more technical, and obviously the light factor being at night, and they can really, the shadows are very, very contrasted right now, so it's tough to see maybe how deep a hole is between two rocks, where you might wind up sticking a boot and have no support and then just fall over.
Now, Brian, the guys were telling me as I walked through the pits, they're going to run a different tire for the night event, actually, than they are to the day event. Did you get some of that information from those guys as well?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting discussion to have, because so what's going on right now, so the tires that Dave is talking about that they're using are a gummy tire. So as a tire, the compound is much more sticky, as a stickier compound, and the tread pattern is made to help grip on these rocks and these types of terrain. But the problem is this is a 10 plus mile race, so very short, and that tire can last and be completely usable by the end of it. Now, when they get to that 136 mile race, those gummy tires are so soft, the compound, that they'll actually wear out in the higher speed races out there in the desert. So a lot of the riders are planning on using a non-gummy tire on that longer race, which is, that actually did surprise me, but once they did explain it, it made a lot of sense. I was like, you know what? I've had quite a few of those tires give out on me while in Colorado, different places, riding lots and lots of miles on a gummy tire, and I was like, you guys are making, it makes sense why they're the pros, I think is a good point.
Like I said, they've been out here for a couple of weeks making sure they've got the right setup. They didn't just show up today and come race. They have been putting in the work. Right now, they're being very polite to each other, kind of letting each other have his own time.
They are. It was great to get a chance to talk to some of the amateurs that have done this event before and come back. And one of the resounding statement that I got was more riding and less beer. And I was like, well, you know what? That's a way to get yourself in better shape to be king of the motos next time.
I see one of our riders riding like a 2003 KTM over there, and he's up in this front group, and he's looking pretty strong. You know, this race doesn't require a brand new motorcycle. It requires a brand new spanking rider with a good attitude.
I think a good attitude, if not a great attitude, is the one thing you have to have when you come to this race, because you could get caught in a bottleneck and it could ruin your race. But you got to remember that we're out there to have fun, ride motorcycles, and the stories that we're going to be able to take, to our families, to our friends for the rest of our lives is what we're really trying to accumulate here.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the weapon of choice out there. I mean, obviously there are certain bikes that are just awesome for off-road bikes. Some of the guys have showed up with more of a motocross type bike, which may not be the best setup for them. But what do they got? They've got a wide variety of brands. Everybody and anybody has come out.
Yeah, so what the two main types of bikes that we see nowadays, two-strokes and four-strokes. And obviously four-strokes in the motocross and supercross have really taken over. But two-strokes in the extreme enduro world are very much still popular, not just because of the fact that they're lighter, but they stay cooler. And the way that they deliver their power, you can watch the way that these guys ride. They'll kind of lightly shift their weight down onto the rear tire, kind of burp the clutch and throttle at the same time, kind of create a little bit of that traction to kind of goat trail themselves up as they're working their way through the course. And a two-stroke just is a little bit easier to maneuver in those situations. And then dry weight, being 10 pounds lighter, that's got to be way easier on the muscles for everybody.
We also want to point out this is the debut for the fuel-injected KTM, Cody Webb on board. It is 100% a 250, not a 300. Even though the option, the cylinder was there in Europe, they could have brought it over and put it on, but they're like, we're only going to race what we sell. We're going to ride the 250, and this is the bike where they're breaking it out for this event. He plans on riding it at all the extreme races this year, including Erzberg, from what I understand. It's his bike of choice, and it is a PDS bike, not a linkage bike.
And it's great to see those coming back. There's been a lot of back and forth on a linkage versus non-linkage. And KTM on the motocross side had to go to a linkage to get a little bit better notoriety in the realms of some of the other brands. But we see here that the way that a PDS suspension works, the linkageless bikes, there's just a lot less kick when you're working through all the rocks.
And there's nothing dragging underneath to slow
and
you
no
down.
chance to catch that linkage. And it's interesting with the 250 TPI, so it's a direct injection two-stroke. It's working towards having a fuel-injected two-stroke. And so that bike, he got that thing probably about 2 weeks before he went to the Rev Limiter Extreme Enduro down in Texas. And then He won all the motos down there, won that event, so that event already has a title under his belt. And then now he said he did do some more testing to it, but the only thing he really changed, even though he did search for a little bit more bottom end, was he stiffened up the rear spring just a little bit because of the high speeds that we're talking about out there in the desert.
And one of the things they found out, Robbie Gouldsby, who's his mechanic, worked this out. They're basically using a tank off of a 450 XC so that they have the capacity, and they've got the fuel pump on board. And the way they've got it set up to where it vents back through the oil tank for the gas tanks. So everything is set up. I took pictures of it today. It's awesome how they did it. But it's basically a 450 XC tank on the 250.
That's interesting, and that's because they didn't have the fuel inject or the fuel pump set up ready for the two-stroke big tanks.
They didn't have the capacity tank at that point. So.
That's okay. We all know it's a Kirby's and it's sponsor-driven, and they make sure that they're happy to have their product out there. And
Franco,
Robbie,
I just say Franco's going to go to the bank, cash the check every day.
so this is one of the bottlenecks that we're talking about. When you've got literally a motorcycle to your left and a motorcycle to your right, and you're kind of trying to just slowly work your way up 1 foot at a time, while you're hoping the gentleman in front of you doesn't kind of, lose a footing and fall over and take you with him, or just then block the trail, and you have nowhere to go.
You think this is the time where you start looking over at the guy and go, you give me a helping hand, I'll help you, we'll get this thing done together?
I'm wondering if it's too early in the race for them to totally be there yet.
Probably not at the early stages of the night race, but it will happen tomorrow.
Oh, yes. There will be a lot of team playing. Even though some of them may not have started as team members, they'll finish as team members.
We're also seeing the introduction of another new bike out here. Mitch Karboth is on board the Sherco, which is kind of new to America. Awesome bike. It's done some extremely well in Europe with its racing. So Mitch Karboth, who was our third place finisher last year, on board the Sherco.
Yeah, so Wade Young and Mario Roman have done a fantastic job the past couple of years on the Shercos in a lot of the European enduros, Extreme Enduros, and then Mario Roman and Wayne Young have both come over and ridden Shercos at the Tennessee Knockout. They've had very good results. They didn't win because that's Cody's job if you're going to win the Tennessee Knockout. But it's great to see Sherco come in the United States. They've been in the United States for a while now that they've been making big bikes, but it's great to see another niche brand growing and gaining a much bigger community.
I'm going to give a shout out to the folks from Beta. They've come out with a very strong contingent of motorcycles as well. So like I said, you can pick your own personal flavor and enjoy what you got. They're all out here, 2-stroke, 4-stroke. I can tell you right now, there's some Trail Tech fans
that's trying to push your bike 1 foot at a time. That fan can kick on and make sure that coolant is staying.
I'll tell you how
cool.
prepped Cody Webb was. He was predicting it might be cold. There was a switch on the bike. I said, what's that? He goes, that's for my grip heater.
His hand warmers.
Yeah, his hand
Cody
warmers.
Webb, and it's even better as he was wishing he had those at the Rev Limiter.
Yeah.
So all you guys that race the Rev Limiter Extreme Enduro, just know that Cody Webb wished he would have had hand warmers.
Is there anything Cody Webb hasn't won this year so far? I think these guys just, if he shows up, they just kind of hand him the trophy.
Well, it's great. He's got the points championship already for Super Enduro. So there's a great chance that he could win that. Now, obviously, they still have quite a few races left over in Europe for that to happen. He's won the Rev Limiter Extreme Enduro. He's obviously coming back trying to reclaim his winning here at King of the Motos.
Yep.
And I would imagine he's going to try to defend his Endurocross title with as much gusto as he can muster against Colton Haker and a lot of the other racers that are going to be out there doing that. And then Tennessee Knockout. He's going to be going for the 6th win in a row at that event, which
at
is
some point, though,
insane.
they just retire the trophy.
You would think.
Maybe start over with a new
the
one.
Cody Webb Memorial.
Yeah. We are going to get another shot here. We're going to get some footage out of Chocolate Thunder here a little later in the race. So this isn't the only camera angle that we've got going, but this is what we're concentrating on right now as we get our amateurs up and through the first major obstacle of the race.
Yeah, and when we get the Chocolate Thunder, it's going to be a great chance for us to see another iconic spot from King of the Hammers. They're going to be coming down Chocolate Thunder this time, though, and they're going to be doing a little bit of a U-turn and going back for another loop. So those guys are going to have a lot of riding ahead of them.
Hey, you know what? There's going to be a little energy used up here. These guys are going to want a power bar somewhere along the way.
We've seen a lot of growth, I think, as well in the riding gear that we're now starting to see a lot of guys. And so you could think about when 7 came to the market, they were much more of a slim-fitting, athletic type of gear. And I think we're starting to see everybody kind of branch out and have very specific gear. And what I like about a lot of the gears that I've been wearing recently is in events like this where it can start and it's maybe 60 degrees, but it could get to 50. They breathe so well.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember back to, riding with my dad and being a little 12-year-old, and you're out there in your cotton jersey and cotton pants, just sweating your day away.
Oh, wow.
And now we've got this great gear, and it's just awesome to see how much everything's kind of evolved and where we're at right now.
And a lot of the guys are actually wearing an undergear type device that's pulling and wicking the sweat away from them so that they don't get that cold, clammy cotton feel that I think we all use for years and years,
I use it for a slimming effect as well underneath my jersey.
There you go.
But I do. I
need that.
It really does keep you cool, which is interesting. I'm doing quite a few rides down in Baja. It's interesting how you use a jacket to actually stay, cool, because of the fact it's like a swamp cooler effect. You want to keep kind of the sweat in, and only open a vent every now and again to let air through, to then cool that sweat that's on there. Because if not, it's so warm and not dry down there, it will just evaporate all the sweat.
You know what?
Off
We were
your
down in
body.
Baja one year. You brought that up. It's interesting. JT made the first really truly ventilated gear, that had the perforated pants and jersey. Larry Rossler was sponsored by JT. He wore those at the Baja 500, and afterwards he said this was probably the worst mistake he'd ever made because it sucked all the moisture. It dried him out while he was riding, and he overheated, which is crazy when you have vented gear.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that completely blew me away about riding in drier places like this. Now, we are much drier right here on the West Coast here at King of the Hammers here in Lucerne Valley, but it's definitely not as dry as it would be down in Baja. So I could see if it was a little bit colder or a little bit warmer, that using that kind of swamp cooler effect maybe with a vest would be a smart thing to do to kind of keep the core sweat in around that area.
You watch the guys who do Dakar, the rallies and stuff like that, and those guys,
They have full
jacket they've
jackets.
got on,
Yep.
man, that's a huge piece of protection. You don't see anybody riding not without a jacket.
Yeah, and that's the idea. It's like it always made me question, why are they wearing jackets in the sand, in the desert?
In the
And
desert,
it's that interesting way to help keep yourself cool by keeping the sweat opposed to evaporating it away.
Over the years, I'll tell you a few riders who have snuck into this is some guys who have extreme trials background. Of course, Cody Webb and Colton Haker are two of those guys, without a doubt. But I've seen folks, that have come into this race who are trials guys, and they get on a motorcycle and they do quite well. So, and we usually have a couple guys that are riding in trials as a team event.
I did see a couple trials bike there at sign up. Interesting enough, the gentleman that we're seeing pull his bike up right now, he has a TM jersey on.
That's right.
You do not see too many TMs in the United States. There are definitely a few.
And I'll take a close look when that bike comes up, because if it's what I think it might be, it's a 125 TM.
Oh, well, at least we know it'll be light for him to continue to carry up the hill. That is.
It is. See the aluminum tank? That's a handmade aluminum gas tank on that bike. It's a 125.
That gentleman who's walking back to his bike just earned himself a beer.
Oh man, he's
that
somebody's
guy
hero,
up.
isn't he?
Yes. Well, now that gentleman on the TM can now work his way up the next 5 feet of trail.
And I think I tried to get two guys to come ride this thing, two of my hometown heroes, Destry and Cooper Abbott. I said, you guys be the first father and team son to finish that. And Des is like, I don't think Cooper would help. He goes, if he was in front of me, I'd be out of luck.
I could see that father-son camaraderie.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a rivalry every now and again, but he would definitely want to beat his father in the end, I can only imagine.
We've had some real characters race this event. I mean, we've got guys that come out here from Montana. I'm like, how do you come out here to race the desert? Where do you train? Well, there's a little bit of snow where we're at and a little bit of rock, so we kind of think it's ready, King of the Moto time. So we've got riders from Montana, Wyoming, Washington, Idaho, just about any state around. Wow.
So guys, this is Cody Webb coming around for his second lap. So this is going to be magic right here. What we're going to watch is we're going to be able to watch Cody Webb pick his way through the bottleneck. So we saw guys still sitting just kind of saying, I don't know where to go. I don't know how to push my bike, how to move my bike through all this. So we're going to have to watch Cody Webb have to maneuver
Looking
his
at
way.
the triple helmet light setup that he's got, that is pretty spectacular. Robbie didn't tell me about that.
One of the things that we haven't really touched about too is the navigation aspect of this event. These guys are following a GPS. Now that Cody has done one lap, he'll have an idea of where the second lap, where this loop's going to go. But for them to go out there on that first lap, they have two GPS. Well, they have one GPS that they're following. The majority of the races are using two. Sometimes it's a backup, but then sometimes they use it for a zoomed out view and a zoomed in view. Most people keeping zoomed in around the 250 mark, while the other ones are around the 1,000 to 1,500 mark.
So your unofficial leader, Cody Webb, aboard the KTM, I should say the Red Bull KTM.
The Red Bull KTM, and did you see that?
What a nice guy, huh?
He didn't even have to punt anybody out of the way. Yeah, so the reason why he's passing the amateurs before he actually is at Chocolate Thunder is they had to do a certain loop twice, and then they're going to come through and actually do the finish there at Chocolate Thunder. So we'll be able to keep watching some of the amateurs struggle and help each other up there, and also more lappers as they come through. And then we'll be able to work our way to Chocolate Thunder as Cody Webb and the rest of the racers work their way over there.
Brian, how demoralizing is it if you're sitting there fighting, struggling as hard as you can, and some guy just comes around you because he's already completed the first lap?
There's a little bit of hatred and a little bit of awe.
Oh,
because you are, I mean, even though your race is only 15 minutes in, but you're stuck and you're pushing and you're out of breath and you're tired, and he comes by and just blips the clutch, puts body position in the right spot, just right enough to get that bike, and just works his way up just like a trials rider does. And you're like, at that point, you're seeing magic happen as well. And then you get back to being tired and angry again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying what you've been seeing. We're going to take a little bit of a commercial break.
King of the Hammers is 181 battery-killing miles of relentless, unforgiving hellishness. It's another thing to prove it. The all-new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology with up to 3 times the battery life. Unsurpassed performance built to fit today's vehicles. Optima, the ultimate power source.
Some say there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Sure, unless you can make it better. All tires aren't created equal. The Nitto Ridge Grappler. Spiral wound construction enables our truck tires to be aggressive and ride incredibly smooth. Our tread and sidewall designs deliver off-road performance for even the most demanding terrain, while computer-simulated tread design delivers a quiet and comfortable ride on the highway. The Ridge Grappler goes beyond expectations. Nitto Tire, fueled by enthusiasts.
We know what we can do. Now, it's time for the world to see.
You've heard about it. Now you can kind of see it. Kinda. We're hoping. But Cody Webb is your leader. Brian, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, once the riders start getting there, obviously with Cody Webb and his 3 helmet light system, the awesome Ridge rigid bike light that he has that we'll be able to see a lot more of what's going on with all the rocks. All right, so it sounds like we're going to go back to jackhammer because of the carnage that is still ensuing with the amateurs and more lappers that are coming through.
I tell you what, the amateurs right now are looking for a line. Any line will do, trust me. They are working their way. Like I said, we do have some guys that are team riders, and those guys are maybe out there helping each other along the way. And sometimes these guys just find a new teammate, to match up with, and they'll help each other throughout the entire event.
One of the pieces of technology that's really has helped a lot of extreme enduro riders, myself included, has been a Recluse clutch. And now a Recluse clutch is an auto clutch. So it's not an auto
Some
bike.
are, some aren't.
Right. So Recluse has obviously
You
a
have a
lot of
choice.
different models, but the one that I like is the one that does the work for you.
Me too.
And then
I love mine. I wouldn't ride without it.
And that way, you can, it's one of those situations where they have a great system with an auto clutch where you can use the clutch as a clutch if you would like to, but then at the same time, if you're in a situation like this, you're a little tired, you need a break, you just need to put your head on the bars, you can leave the bike running, let the clutch out, and it'll help you. But at the same time, too, in a lot of these situations, it's just really helpful when you're trying to find your footing. You're trying to move fast. You're trying to think fast. It's one of those things, one less stalled bike keeps you that much more energetic.
Tell you what, auto clutch and electric start just changed the world for a lot of us.
I'm excited about the days that I've been growing up riding and racing dirt bikes in, that's for sure, Dave.
Tell you what, I've come a long way from the day that I was kick-starting a 400 Mako. Man, I'm so glad I don't see that anymore.
Well, the good thing is my dad has a 1986 Can-Am 400.
There you go.
And I think it was one of the qualifier models. And luckily enough, he's let me ride that thing. So, but to ride it, you got to start it. And to kick those things over, you definitely have to step up to the plate.
You make yourself sure that you really want to give it a swift kick, as they say. You're not going to just lay your foot and push it down. By the way, I talked to Cody and the guys over there. Cody's experimented with the auto clutch. I'm not sure who this rider is. We're looking real hard, trying to pick a number.
So it looks like it's going to be Mitch Karloff on the Sherco 300 SER we were talking about. And he only has, you can see the difference. He only has one helmet light and one bike light.
Right.
And if you look at the shadows that he's casting versus the shadows that Cody Webb wasn't casting, because of his 3 helmets light setup, is quite different.
And we got the rider off to his left there with the Christmas tree lights all over the backpack and the bike. I love it,
Oh, yeah, he's got that rear fender all lit up.
I think we need to have a class for the best decorated motorcycle. Yeah, give him a cheer. I wish he could hear us from here.
Now, guys,
he's wishing we
I'm
were
not
here to pick
laughing
him
because
up.
I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
And so I understand that gentleman is tired and he's having a great time, but that's exactly what happens when you get traction, unbeknownst to you.
By the way, Mitch Karloff, for those of you who may not know, he has a roommate that he rides with fairly often, some guy named Taylor Robert.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy who's over in Vegas right now trying to win a Works Championship. The rider that took the big crash here last year, he and Mitch are roommates. They ride together, train together. Some guy named Max Gersten comes out and rides with him once in a while, along with the Abbotts. I'm telling you, Arizona's got some killer riders. People ask me, you ever ride where Taylor rides? I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of unload in the same area.
I just go for the beginner's loop, and he goes for the double black.
See the rope down attached to this rider that they're towing up? There you go. That's a nice style. That might be Don right there, in fact. I'm almost sure it's Don Bosworth right there. He's telling me these race.
Hey, Tim, do we know if Mitch is in second or third or anything like that?
Don's been racing here, all kinds of events on that 300 Husqvarna.
Do we know if Mitch is in second or third, the one that's lapping right now on the Sherco?
We're thinking that Mitch Karloff Yeah. We may get an opportunity to throw the map up on the screen, but we can tell you right now the tracker is running a little bit behind, and I'm not sure if there's an online tracker that they have going. So we all don't exactly know, other than that Cody Webb is your leader.
I want to say that this is Evan Ask And this is one of the gentlemen that you were talking about from Montana. And he was another. So last year he was the top amateur
winner
at at Schampa King of the Motos. And this year he's in the pro class.
That's right.
And he's actually also competed at the Rev Limiter Extreme Enduro earlier this year. So this gentleman from Montana has been driving to Texas, was 30, 40 plus hours to do some extreme enduros down there. And now he's driven himself to Lucerne Valley, California to Schampa King of the Motos to do some more extreme enduros. I wonder if he's got anything else, if he's going to be heading to TKO too later this year.
The other thing Evan told me today, he's like, we brought him, like 4 or 5 pipes. I'm kind of down to my last good pipe, where they're going to fix one to have as a backup for tomorrow.
And that's such an interesting point to bring up, because if you look at that 2-stroke right there, we got a great shot of how low the pipe hangs. And when you can lay the bike over sometimes, obviously those rocks could ding the pipe. And that's how the bike creates all of its power, is there in the shape of the pipe. So obviously the more you ding it, the less it performs optimally. Now the thing is when you're in these situations, you probably wouldn't notice a small ding here or there, but guys like Cody Webb would.
Oh yeah.
Now the 4-stroke, obviously your header is a little bit more protected.
It's also right there where it'll just burn a hole right through your skin to the bone if you touch it.
Which unfortunately has happened to quite a few people when they first got a 4-stroke.
I kind of think I've been there.
Yes.
You know what? I'm watching Evan here shaking his hands. He's getting some pretty good hand cramps going on. Got that death grip situation. And you know what? This is tough stuff, folks. That's why they call it King of the Motos. You've got to be the meanest, baddest motorcycle dude around. And Jimmy Lewis, the sadistic trail master that he is.
Okay.
He's going to...
If that is a Honda, which it looks like that would be a CRF, so that will be a 450RX, is the only Honda 450 out here that I know of, and that should be Justin Morgan. So Justin Morgan is actually...
About Bill Baroth.
We'll go halfway there.
A little bit. I'm just going to say, Bill had to use every fluid that he could find to fill a radiator, even bodily fluids. So
well,
that's how you finish Takati Enduro, buddy.
I've been there before. The things that happen in Colorado don't always stay in Colorado, but you do want to get back to the truck. So you do whatever needs to happen. Use snow or potential bodily fluids.
Nothing worse at high altitude and getting hot. Man, that Colorado stuff is awesome. Although they do have water. Running stream about every other mile.
Yes, which is very nice. Out here, not the case.
Nothing. You can't even get one of those witching sticks to find water.
So do you think next year to step up the ante, Jimmy Lewis should bring a water truck to the top of Jackhammer?
No, and Jimmy Lewis, he put the water truck at the top of the hill and let the water run down.
That's the goal. That's what I'm talking about.
Make it like a waterfall.
Head that way.
We've had every kind of weather now. Since the years I've been coming here, I've seen it when it's freezing cold. I mean, like 31 degrees and lower. Snow, 80-mile-an-hour winds that were blowing riders off the tops of the ridges. But no matter what, these guys are going to ride it from start to finish. We're going to crown a winner tomorrow night right here on this stage.
Oh, I do not know. We can't tell which rider this is, but look at that front light that is not on. Okay,
that's not a good
he's just
sign.
taking a break. I was wondering that was going to not be good to just have to use that headlight to navigate your way up Jackhammer and over to Chocolate Thunder.
Yeah, this is not where you reach in the fanny pack and bring out your tech light. Ooh, it's getting pretty dim.
But yeah, you can even tell. I think maybe he might be either trying to reserve battery, but he keeps turning it off and turning it on. But one thing, when he does turn it off, you can tell that headlight is not very powerful.
But he's got forward motion, and that's what you got to do. Keep going forward. Don't look back.
Momentum is key.
You know, if it was cold like it was in the last couple of years, you'd be seeing the breath off every one of these riders.
Right now, it's
They'd be
just
panting,
dust.
You know. Tell you what, my tongue would be in the spokes about the first obstacle.
I think I would potentially have issues kicking the bike and start to feel tired. I think I had a cold coming on, so I didn't actually even have to start the race.
The year that Destry Abbott rode this and got third place, he rode a 450 Kawasaki. He had a problem in one of the canyons. I happened to be there. He looked over and said, could you come start my bike? I'm like, no. He's like, really? And I go, no.
Like, I legitimately cannot start your bike.
Cannot touch your bike.
One thing we were talking about, how loose the soil is out here, within that is a lot of the dust that can create. And if you think about it, with these headlights, and there's a big cloud of dust, that's all they can see. It's kind of like a fine mist in front of you, so it's that much harder. So if you think about navigating a GPS off of a GPS, then you look up, and all you see is a fine mist cloud, of your lights lighting up a bunch of dust. I think at that point in time, you could say that you're in a situation that does not make you very comfortable.
Can we tell the folks that the GPSs these guys are running, they're about the size of a small cell phone, almost a flip phone, and they've got a very tight pattern and a very broad pattern. Years before, they were using a single navigating device. Now they figured out they go to 2 devices and they can zoom in, zoom out. But I tell you what, trying to do that at night while you're riding and look down there and find your way, it's amazing. And we found out last year that even the best could make a mistake.
Right, and you're referring to Cody Webb at the very end.
Last check.
2017's King of the Motos, where he missed that waypoint. It looks like we're back with our Christmas tree, Husqvarna. Let's see if I don't know if this is the exact spot where he looped it out before, but it looks like he might be headed that direction again.
Maybe next year we can get a star on his head.
I like that. I think that's a good way to do it.
Maybe we could have, like I said, let's have a Christmas tree decorating contest.
I think a bike decorating competition would be we could probably find some sponsors to make that happen.
Probably one of the lighting companies with all those crazy whip antennas that everybody's got.
Oh, yes.
In fact, folks, where we're standing up here on the stage, we look out across Johnson Valley, and you can see the people out here playing around on some of these really tough obstacles out here. Just a lineup of lights and traffic, and thousands of people out here having a good time. This is the largest attended, I believe, off-road race in the United States, if not the world.
Yeah, once we hit peak a little bit later in the week for King of the Hammers, apparently 60,000 plus people here to spectate, race, and enjoy the amazing times here at King of the Hammers for off-road greatness.
And there are everything from giant diesel pusher motorhomes to a camp tent, a one-person tent, and a lean-to. It's amazing what's out here.
And we just saw Quinn Winsel go by, so we don't have official results currently on what place he is in, but obviously he is now making the second lap there past through Jackhammer, so he'll be headed to Chocolate Thunder, past our Christmas tree light friend here.
I think that bike was number 333, but I don't have a 333. I have a 33 on board. We'll check a look at it, see where we can find something. Maybe he'll just point his helmet light. See, there's the 333.
Yep, 333. He definitely looks to be hung up on something that could be potentially the linkage, it could be potentially the rear wheel, the little hole that he's fallen in, but obviously he's struggling mightily.
Well, the 33 is a rider by the name of Ryan Wells, who I actually happen to know out of Arizona. That's not Ryan Wells.
That is not.
Ryan's on a KTM, and that's not a KTM either. But you know what? He is struggling. He's trying. I'm not sure if he can just kind of get a little lift off the front and move the bike over.
I'm sure that we could come up with tons of ideas from our vantage point on how he could potentially get that bike moving.
And he's like, well, why don't you come up here and ride this thing and show me?
Because somebody, luckily enough, has to make sure that everybody is kept up to date on what's going on, and that is our job. We have been assigned, so we get to stay up here and do that for you guys.
I had the experience when my daughter was racing. I said, kiddo, you could do that double if you really wanted to. She's like, Dad, if you do it, I'll follow you. I'm like, okay, you're not doing a double.
Yep, it's not happening today.
Not today. I don't
Unfortunately,
feel
it looks like he's still having a little bit of trouble, but he might be just past that point he was stuck at, even though it kind of tipped over a little bit to the right.
This is where that auto clutch would help a lot. Maybe he has one. I don't know, but
look how deep of a breath he is taking. You can see his entire chest cavity move as he is deeping as deeply as possible to get breath into those lungs as he is maneuvering that bike up these rocks.
Remember, it's fun.
I think it looks like he's having a fantastic time.
I think he's smiling underneath that helmet,
I
don't
would
you?
agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if we had a way to get to him, we could talk to him, like wave to the fans, That guy's doing everything he can, and I am truly thankful that he is riding as well as he is. and keeps moving forward. Keeps. The goal is to get to the check and finish this event. Now, it's my understanding everybody finishes this event, and they will get a start tomorrow as well.
Yes, the way that the event is running this year, which is different in years past, is they are doing a moto format. So it's kind of Olympic scoring in that. So first we'll get 1 point, second 2 points, things like that, and we'll add up all 3 races for the pros, and then the 2 races for the amateurs, because the pros tomorrow morning do have their own very specific extreme section.
Well, we're getting some information fed to us, and we're going to give it back to you guys as soon as we confirm what's going on out there on the racetrack. So anything we're saying right now is strictly unofficial, so we want you to remember that.
Sounds good.
Was that as good for you folks out there as it was for us
Screen is
watching
just
the
like
monitor?
wigging out.
Man. So feedback says that we've got
2019, you can tell all the work that they've put in working on the bike and the body, and the mental and the physical side of things is just creating a complete amazing package when it comes to an extreme enduro rider.
You know, Cody Webb, the first year he came out here, he was flailing like everybody else. He was having a tough time. In fact, he was riding a Beta, and he fell and he split a radiator and he boiled it all over, but he didn't want to quit. Max Gerson gave up his race and the radiators for him. Ladies and gentlemen, here he comes. This is the man of the moment, Cody Webb, coming in. Our unofficial leader coming into the finish area. I believe at Chocolate Thunder, as we call it. He's kind of the lone rider out there right now. I do like that triple headlight system.
It's kind of like a fun hairdo. Now, I've actually had the pleasure of falling down Chocolate Thunder. Jimmy Lewis took me out for some pre-riding, and that was one of the things that I was luckily enough to do. So this is where they're going to head up a little bit and take a quick right. Now, we're going to see a precursor that they're going to go up more of this
Look
tomorrow.
at those trial skills right there. Man, that is amazing. And he just hops it up. That is truly, you know, a Graham Jarvis, David Knight type of move.
Well, all the trials guys that are watching right now are going, why is he dabbing so much?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
gotta keep your feet on the pegs,
Did
Cody
he
Webb.
just lose like 50 points right there?
Yeah, if that was a trial section, he did not do very good.
Hey. The light is a flashing light. It's not a stopping light. It doesn't, when you apply the brake, it doesn't glow. It just gives everybody else an idea of where you're at. See how he just pivots that thing around on that Dunlop, getting that thing to hook up the gummy tire. Here he goes. Keep your eye on him.
And Cody Webb is about 6'3", and so he has extremely long legs, and that does play into his strengths for doing this kind of riding. You can see the way that he'll plant his foot and kind of turn the bike, and then kind of plant his other foot and turn the bike to make those pivots happen. And for guys that have short legs, we just kind of kick around on the ground and wish that we had a shorter seat.
Yeah, you're never going to see Jeremy Martin come out and ride King of the Motos.
Jeremy Martin would not do very well.
He can't hardly get on the bike at the start line. They cut the frame and the seat down, but man, is he a great rider. His dad was an incredible rider, riding 6 days for a number of years, back in the days with Dick Burleson and company.
Speaking of 6 days, Cody Webb got a gold medal at the
did.
ISDE this past year, riding on the club team
Yep.
in the C2 class.
That's right. Stage 1 is what we're doing right there, baby. Stage 1. Finish line, Cody Webb, your unofficial winner. They will download the tracking device on there and check and see that he's made all the little marks that are out there. There's checks and there's virtual checks too, is my understanding.
Yeah, the waypoints that are built in, so they won't see those.
Right.
Those are as you pointed out, they'll take the track log and put those against those waypoints to make sure that he hit all the virtual checkpoints that they have built in.
I'm going to give a shout out to Yorkham Levy. Is the man who manufactures the devices that hold the GPS systems on there. Joachim rides all the extreme races all over the world and said, you know what? I can build a better mousetrap, and by God, he did. So who does he give it to test? Some guy named Cody Webb.
Some guy named Cody Webb. Look at that. We've got more bikes flying into the air. The only problem with the way that the bike is pointed right now is that light pointed straight at the sky does not help out very much, does it?
It's signaling something flying high.
Help.
Yeah. There it is. It's like a landing light for a spaceship. Wow.
Awesome.
So, so this is the map right now. Of course, it's an unofficial situation. Colton Haker on the tracker, coming around in second place in the pro class. All right. Youngster Noah Keppel on the gas.
Yeah, he's on the XC300.
And the beta rider Max Gersten third. So we've got 4 riders on 4 different brands. I like it.
That's the way it should be. And I'm glad to see a lot of the smaller brands making a good push and working with great riders to make sure that their bikes can be seen and ridden and get on the top step.
You know what? Are we going to have the guy whose first Japanese bike? You know, that may be the best that you can get.
It's been a long time
It's
since
been
we've
a
seen
while.
one of those on the top of an Extreme Enduro podium, isn't it?
It's been a long time since we've seen a 4-stroke do really well at one of these events. The 2-stroke advantages are weight, like you were talking about. They run cooler. They're easier to manipulate through the tough stuff. Here's a rider back up on the pegs. I like it.
Oh, there you go.
Take it away.
Okay, it looks like we're at official second place there, so Colton Haker coming in. So that was Haker we were seeing with the yellow lights. We'll have to ask him about that so we can get more talking points for why he would choose those.
Like, why are you using a fog light, buddy?
It definitely looks very different, but I think obviously it's working for him. He's getting there in second place. We were talking about Noah Keppel in third and then Max Gersten in fourth. Those are actually people that have finished in the top 3 and 4 before. So Noah
Right.
Keppel was fourth last year. Max Gersten was actually second with Mitch Carvalth in third. So it makes perfect sense that these guys are there at the top leading this event right now.
Ryan, these are the guys that train for this. I mean, they live this every day. I can't imagine what it'd be like to go for a trail ride with these guys. You know, I can remember that back in the days when I got invited to go trail ride with Ty Davis, and friends of mine are like, don't do it, he'll try to kill you. And I wouldn't doubt that a bit. And Ty, I talked to him, he's like, these guys are so much better than I ever was. And there's long-legged riders. If you look at them when they come up here, half the guys showing up look like they can play basketball.
Cody Webb is definitely a very tall gentleman. What's great about a lot of these riders as well is Cody Webb he was in college full-time,
That's right.
working on his degree, so he has his mechanical engineering degree, and we see Colton Haker go
tip
down
over.
there. It's got to be tough, too, because at that point, when you fall over, the only light you have to pick your bike up with at that point is the knowledge of where the headlight is, right? So the front of the bike, and then you have your headlights that are on your helmet to be able then to try to see. But after that, it does look very dark to the sides of the motorcycle.
And here's another little tidbit for all of you folks out there. Robbie Gouldsby told me they've actually got a relay on Cody's bike, so if it stalls, the light stays on for a matter of seconds so he can find the bike in the dark.
I really like smart people. That is a very engineering-minded gentleman, and I'm glad that he thinks the way he does.
You know, I've hung around Robbie Gouldsby since he was a little kid, and anybody that knows Robbie Gouldsby, I don't think he was ever a little kid. But
He is a large gentleman.
man, he has built some great motorcycles for Cody and pretty good rider himself. So he kind of knows what it takes to build a decent bike. His dad, his brother, and himself are avid off-road racers, so give a big shout out to the Gouldsby family.
So we've got Cody Webb already finished, so he's got a first place, unofficially, of course. Colton Haker coming in now in second. So these guys obviously have the best advantage going into the second and third races that we're going to have, the Motos.
Were these guys in a no-dust situation?
It does look like, because they did not have everybody in front of them, that they did not have much dust.
Wow, close. We think it might be
It was
Noah Keppel.
Noah
maybe,
Keppel,
on the gas.
Yeah, he was in third place as we were looking at the map, and that does
It
look
is.
like a red motorcycle.
It looks pretty spectacular. You know, Jeff Aaron called him up on the phone and said, hey, would you like to ride one of these gases? And they're like, yeah, why not? He did all the Enduro Cross on board this year. He's a 2-time winner of the world famous Ducati Enduro this year on the gas. So,
And he was really excited because he was actually been on the bike for the past 7 months. And when he did this event last year on the motorcycle, he hadn't had much time on the XC300. But now that he's got an entire year back on the bike, but in 7 months specifically on this motorcycle to be that much more comfortable, he feels that he does have a lot better chance to do better than the 4th place that he
and
finished
the bike
last
he
year.
rode last year, I'm just going to flat come out and say it, that bike was as heavy as a Harley. I was so happy just to see him get to the finish line. But this bike is so much better, and he has made him a better rider, and that's why he's going to challenge. Well, we're going to go break away here for a little bit. We want to thank you, the Schampa 2018 King of the Motos. We are going to bring you back all the action, so don't go away.
Some say there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Sure, unless you can make it better. All tires aren't created equal. The Nitto Ridge Grappler. Spiral wound construction enables our truck tires to be aggressive and ride incredibly smooth. Our tread and sidewall designs deliver off-road performance for even the most demanding terrain, while computer-simulated tread design delivers a quiet and comfortable ride on the highway. The Ridge Grappler goes beyond expectations. Nitto Tire, fueled by enthusiasts.
We didn't just test the new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology, we tortured it. King of the Hammers is 181 battery-killing miles of relentless, unforgiving hellishness. It's one thing to call yourself the ultimate power source. It's another thing to prove it. The all-new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology with up to 3 times the battery life. Unsurpassed performance built to fit today's vehicles. Optima, the ultimate power source.
Hey truck and Jeep owners, trust the experts at 4-Wheel Parts Superstores. We're your #1 source for BF Goodrich tires, and our ASE certified technicians install everything we sell. 4-Wheel Parts has the best pricing and selection on tires, wheels, lift kits, accessories, and much more. Shop online or visit any one of our 87 North American locations. Find us now at 4wheelparts.com.
We know what we can do. Now, it's time for the world to see.
Here's to the defiant ones, the roughnecks, and the rogues who refuse to live by the laws of physics. Here's to the renegades who can go 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, but wish they were doing it in 3. Here's to those who know gravity is there, but choose to flip it the bird.
And welcome back. So we're going to be looking here at the 2018 Schampa King of the Motos. So Cody Webb has come across the line. They've pulled his card. We've seen Colton Haker come across in second. And then we saw Noah Keppel working his way toward the finish line, though he hadn't made it there yet. I'm sure he has by now.
I tell you what I like about all 3 of those guys who are coming in, we believe, the top 3 places, is how well they're representing the company that they're riding for. I mean, I tell you what, if I was going looking for an off-road endurance type, extreme bike, okay, I know about KTM, I know about Husky. Wait a minute, you're telling me a gas is going to be there, and maybe the Beta as well? So awesome.
We're looking at some guys coming through here, Chocolate Thunder. We're going to get a chance to interview Cody Webb for you guys as soon as we have somebody up here that wants to run the camera for us.
This guy's getting pretty used to doing these post-race interviews.
Yeah, you want to get in here and call the rest of this with us?
Yeah, you want to tell us exactly?
What do we got there?
We don't know. You tell us. You were there.
Cody's here with us, but that's it.
Who is that? It is.
Yeah,
the
Mitch
Sherco.
Karloff coming through on his Sherco 300 SE-R.
Which place are we working on?
And we think some guy named Haker is coming up this way, and maybe Noah Keppel, the youngster.
And that way we can get a chance to talk to Mr. Cody Webb about all the good times that he just had winning the first race of this event. But yeah, so Mitch Karloff coming through. It's actually interesting. He raced motocross for the longest time up until he moved in with Taylor Robert, then started doing a lot more off-road. And now look at this guy trying to catch up to the likes of Cody Webb.
Chasing you around. Hey, tell us a little bit, how the equipment out there? How'd that 250 work for you on that little bike?
Yeah, it was actually, really good. I'm glad I raced the bike a couple weeks ago. It's the new direct inject, fuel injected two-stroke, which is, it's not new technology by any means, but it's kind of the first time dirt bikes are having that fuel injected setup on the two-stroke. So, it's I'm riding a 250 because I still don't have the 300, and it's a little doggy on the bottom. I'd like to have a little more torque, but we got the job done out there, got a really good start, and had fun from there on out.
Tell us a little bit about that triple headlight system that you had. That thing, we could see you, we could pick you out really easy because of the light pattern. We actually have a rider out there that's got like Christmas lights all over him and the bike. We think next year we're going to have a Christmas tree contest.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny actually, maybe some ornaments or something. But the more light the better. And I had a really good rigid industry set up on the front there, and two little tweeters on the side and one up on top. So the more light the better, and obviously it showed, I guess.
Yeah, when I went through Rigid the other day, they were showing me all that setup about the little lights, and they're like, you really want to try these? And I'm like, I don't know. And then he goes, I kind of think Cody Webb's got something set up. And man, you had it set up, buddy.
Yeah, it's crazy how the LEDs these days are so small, and they hardly weigh anything, but they really got a good output. So it's really helpful in trying to see out there, and it's a little scary. You have no idea where you're at the whole time. You're just following a track log, and I see lights in the distance, but who knows where the heck I am the whole time.
I'm going to let Brian jump in here in just a second. He's got a question. I do have one final question. Are the GPS, are they lit to where you can see them backlighted?
Yeah, I got a backlight set up, and actually I thought at night I wouldn't need it, fully brightness, and coming up that first canyon I actually had to stop and turn it up because I couldn't see where I was going. I thought the glare of my helmet lights and stuff would kind of take out, but I needed all the brightness I could out there.
One of the things I was wondering, it took about 45 minutes to get through the end of that race. Physically, how did you, prepare for that? Did you think it was going to be about 45 minutes, or did you think it might be a little bit longer? And how did you feel while you were out there on the course?
To be honest, I had no idea how long it was going to take. I think Jimmy had a better idea of how long it was going to be taking us, especially after last year when we cut his time more than in half. And, this was a lot more realistic. And we got through it pretty clean. I got a really good start and got hung up right off the bat, and I think I caused a bottleneck, and once I got through that, everyone else was kind of dogging for position. So then we kept going, and second time up jackhammer was a mess. I took my time. I didn't want to break my bike out there, and kind of meander my way through everyone. And it was tough, kind of pumping up a little bit when you're in the canyons pushing, but there's a lot of kind of rest zones, and you don't want to be pushing too fast in the dark and trying to follow the GPS when you're on that fast stuff.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and thank you very much, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy the show out there.
Yeah, put your hands together for Cody Webb, ladies and gentlemen. That guy worked really hard.
He made it look really easy, too.
Oh, yes, he did.
You want me to bring him towards us, or us go to him? Okay, I'll get him on over here.
Back to a little more jackhammer action. Check out the skid plate on that bike. That guy has got more armor and aluminum. Look at that thing. Looks like a knight from the Middle Ages trying to protect that bike. You know, you can't wrap your body or your bike with enough material sometimes. I guarantee you fall against one of those rocks, it hurts, and it's going to leave a mark. So we are in jackhammer. We're waiting for our third place rider to come aboard. But Brian's going to be chatting here with the man of the moment, Colton Haker, last year's winner. Take it
last
away.
year's winner, Colton Haker. How did it go out there tonight? One of the questions I wanted to ask you was your yellow lights. Tell us about why you were using such a different coloration from a lot of the other riders. Yeah, thanks, Cody.
Yeah, we tested the white versus the yellow, and it ended up being that the yellow could see better through the dust, and you give a little bit away with the lumens, but ultimately I could just my eyes could adjust better to the yellow, so it worked out good. I was just getting a little bit of a glare from the Trail Tech Voyager, and it's like a little bit difficult in the mid-race, and it's hard to get out there in GPS and then looking through the lights and you're navigating. We caught to lappers, or they're in the first section, and we came around there bottlenecked, and that was kind of gnarly. That was much harder than last year.
Yeah, it looked like you guys came around there and honestly kind of picked your way slowly, but in a smart way to get around the bottlenecks. But any hiccups there? I mean, anything that you can tell us that makes it easier for us to try to comprehend what you guys are going through when you have to work your way around riders like that?
Well, it was kind of gnarly because I was actually in a group with Max Gersten and Noah Keppel by that time, and I was like, all I could think about was just getting a wheel ahead of the next lapper, just so I could get in line to get up the hard obstacle they were stuck on. And so once I got into position there and got up going, I just kind of tried to follow the Voyager and just try to keep it on track. And I could see Noah back there. He didn't finish too far behind me, and he was riding really good. And I mean, it's just tough, no doubt. The rocks and lappers and lights and GPS and just nonstop.
There's all of that mixed into one can sometimes create disaster, but luckily for you, it was a second place. How about the machine and you? How did you guys work out there as a team?
Yeah, out here it's so difficult to ride, so loose, and it gets churned up from the trucks, and the obstacles it's just hard to get traction, man. And so because of that, it feel like you could be riding a 1980 bike, and you're probably gonna feel kind of the same because you're just so difficult to ride. Yeah, but my bike was working really good, and I don't know, it was all good.
Well, good luck tomorrow. Have fun, and we really appreciate the time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well done, Colton Haker. Well done. Husqvarna's got to be proud. The Austrian team guys have just shown why this is the best in the business. We're checking out the yellow lights on here. Something else that you can't see from down there, Colton Haker had the lights on his helmet, and I'm looking at one. I'm going to ask you, now is this pointing, these are pointing down? Oh, you can move around. He's got the adjustable lights on board, so you may be able to see that on the camera.
Yeah, Baja Designs.
There you go. Baja Designs taking care of you.
Moto-minded built the harnesses.
There you go. Moto-minded built the harnesses for him. Nice job. Nice job.
Thanks to those guys.
Hey, you got to thank everybody because you can't do this by yourself.
Yeah, what I like about Moto Minded is they have a lot of smaller products that make a lot of sense, right? So they're not going to work on it. They know that Baja Designs makes great lights,
right,
but they're going to come up with maybe a little bit of a better way to mount the lights.
Mount them.
That works better for dirt bikes versus maybe the trucks or the cars. And they do the same thing. They have neat little holders that you can have to hold extra equipment on your bike while you're out there riding. And so Moto Minded, they do some really cool stuff if anybody hasn't checked them out.
And it's Moto-minded?
Moto-minded, thinking dirt bikes.
I'm going to have to check that out myself.
There's another guy that's got yellow on his bike as he's working his way up Chocolate Thunder, it looks like. We got one working their way down.
Golden up there looking at the big screen. Is it better? So we're waiting for our third place bike to come in.
Yeah.
You guys are going to go back and get undressed and cleaned up and head for home here.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we're trying to pull the numbers up for you folks out here. We'd really like to be covering them maybe a little better, but we're doing what we can. These riders, now as you can see here, the riders right now, almost looks like one's going one way, one's going another, and a third rider has found another line in there. What do you think, Brian?
They're working their way up that U, that horseshoe, and it's just kind of the way it works out. But you're right. We had 3 different riders heading in 3 different directions. It was quite interesting. It looks like we've got our third place rider, Noah Keppel. You want to go ahead and get him set up,
Yeah,
and
I'm
I'll
gonna
cover
chat
some
with
of
Noah,
the
but I'm
footage
gonna
as
let
you
him
get
get a
him
little
set up.
squared away here.
Looks
He
like we've
probably
got more
wants to
riders finishing up.
wet his
and,
whistle.
they're coming through the horseshoe here. But
Maybe
let's
shout out
talk
to
a little
Mom and
bit here
Dad.
with Noah Keppel.
There we go. All right, Noah Keppel, our third place rider on the gas. Tell you what, I think these guys are getting their money's worth by picking you up and putting you on this hot rod, doing an awesome job for them. Was it fun out there?
Yeah, definitely a hot rod it is. The 2018 XC300 is an amazing bike. Not much modifications that it takes to run out here with the big dogs. Jimmy did a great job laying out an awesome night race course for us, and had a blast out there.
Well, Noah Keppel, I hate to tell you, you are a big dog, dude. You've got the growl going for now, for sure, without a doubt. As your dad comes by to say hi, he's pretty proud, of course. I know you guys worked a lot on light setup and did a lot of testing. I mean, this isn't something you guys do in a day or a weekend. This has taken like a few weeks or even months, right?
Yeah, Jimmy really throws together a race that takes a lot of preparation, and it's proven that when you do your homework, you come out with great success. So I'm just really excited to be out here again for 2018 and have a great day tomorrow, safe, and really hope that everyone has a clean ride.
This place has been bittersweet to you a couple of times, but you're always there at the end, and you're always fighting for a position on the box, as they say. You know what? Good ride, young man. Good ride.
Thank you very much, Dave, and thanks to all the volunteers out here tonight that made this race possible. It definitely makes it a lot smoother and definitely a lot better for everyone.
I'll tell you what, it's a lot more exciting when we can actually kind of see you guys out there. What we want you to do next year, though, we've already talked about, we're going to dress you guys up and have a Christmas lighting deal to where you can have lights all over you. We actually saw a rider out there, it's all over his body and his bike. Maybe even put a star or an angel on top of your helmet.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm pretty camouflaged right now in my Thor MX Nebula kit, so you can't really even see me coming out there. But yeah, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, Noah Keppel is stealth mode. This guy's going to sneak up and bite you and go for the victory. All right, Brian. Texas style, buddy. Texas style.
Yeah, we're coming in. We got more riders coming into that horseshoe at the end of Chocolate Thunder. And I can imagine at this point, these guys, they're almost done. They can see the finish line. They're probably ready to be done at this point. But at the same time, I'm sure that they've had fun, and they're thanking Jimmy mightily for the amazing course that he has laid out for them this evening.
You know, if they can just get a taste of that finish line and then up there, get them ready to go for it and stuff. And I tell you what, riders just want to get that feeling of completing something. The accomplishment of finishing is an internal victory in its own.
Yep, even though this is just the first of 3 motos, to have one out of the way, especially a night race, it's like some of the guys can go have a beer if that's what they're in the mood for. Some of them go have some water, get some grub, get a little bit of recovery on, and that way they can get ready for tomorrow to do it all over again. But yes, I would agree. The victory that these guys have just getting to the finish is a very, very proud moment for sure.
I think we're going to have some guys, like I said, come in and get maybe an energy drink of some sort or a replenishment drink. And some of our more veteran riders might just come in and say, "This bud's for me."
There are carbs and protein in beer, so
there
it is
go.
Actually a very good recovery drink as long as you remember that you should only have 1 or 2.
Tell you what, good talk on Mike Brown. I watched that guy get done with a works race one day, came off the track, went right over and slugged a big old bottle of chocolate milk.
Yeah, that's a lot of sugar.
That's it.
But that's the idea. You want to get that everything moving, the protein, to help the muscles recover.
You know, that's a guy that we should have had out here. Brownie should have showed up for one of these things. I can't believe he wouldn't come out here and give it a bit of a test.
I have a feeling he's enjoying being retired.
I think so.
I think he finally figured it out. He's like, wait, I don't have to do this anymore.
I've got 2 sons, and I can go play basketball and baseball with them and have a good time.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like they're struggling a little bit here as they're working their way toward the finished part of that horseshoe there at the bottom of Chocolate Thunder. Oh, gonna lean it over there just a tad bit. Headlight out there. Now that we're seeing one rider, we can really see how dark it is for those guys as they are trying to traverse.
How good the lights are when you see what's bouncing off the rocks, the reflection. Oh, there he is. Man. That
We've
guy
got
from
Mitch
Arizona.
Karvoff from Arizona on the Sherco 300 SER. How did it go out there, Mitch?
Went pretty good. My start was terrible. The bike didn't fire off the line and everybody took off. So that made for an interesting start for myself. But, I mean, right off the get-go, if you're like first 1, 2, or 3, kind of share track, kind of check out. But everybody else is dealing with the chaos and the dust right off the get-go with the lights. So we all just bunched right back up together pretty quick and at a time and get through the hammers, and from there we kind of just spaced out pretty good. Got a couple guys through there and didn't really see anybody from the second half.
What did you think of the course? You know, obviously we're doing GPS navigation, and that's tough to have to do that. So, well, how did that go? But then at the same time, what did you think of the course while you were out there, you know, trying to follow the track line?
GPS, the markings were good. The track log that I had was spot on. Like distance-wise, I had 2, so the combination of the 2 made it easy for me. I had issues with the light. About 3/4 of the way through, my headlight starts flickering on and off, and so I just shut it off because it was really messing with my eyes more than anything. So luckily, I still have a helmet light, so I was still able to see. But as far as the course goes, I kind of have an idea on where I'm at. I've done this a few years and raced it last year. There's similar stuff that we ran last year in the night race, just maybe a different direction. So I was kind of knew where I was going a little bit, but it wasn't too bad.
So 4th place there in the night race, unofficially still right now. Got to check track logs and make sure everything's kosher. But at the same time, I mean, do you feel like you're in a good place to go into tomorrow's races?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we still have 2 more motos to go for the pros. I mean, anything can happen. As far as I know, crossing the line, they were telling me 5th. I think Max is in between Noah and I. Maybe he didn't roll up here, so that's what I was told. But yeah, going into tomorrow, we have 2 more races, and 3rd moto will be interesting. Long distance, and like I said, anything can happen. You gotta get your body through it, get the bike through it, and yeah, make it to the finish line.
Well, thank you very much for the time. Congrats. Have fun, and we'll see you in the morning.
So Brian, he brings the Sherco up here. Not the first time we've had a Sherco on the box up in here for interviews. Corey Graffunder actually rode one year out here, punched a hole in the side case, literally found a rock about the same size as the hole, took the epoxy, made a plug out of the rock, stuck it in, came up here, rode it into the finish, shut it off. The bike never restarted.
It laid where it died where
done.
it laid. Yep, we had him on our webcast seat time when that happened after King of the Motos, and talked about that, and that was such an interesting way for that kind of to unfold. But it's so smart at the same time. You know, we do that on the trail a lot, where we try to find that ingenuity while we're out there to at least get home.
Hey, you know what? You got to get home, because that's the truck that brought you. You got to find the way home. Boy, this guy is hung up on the hillside here. That is tough stuff.
Yeah, so it looks like we're getting a little bit of and now we're back over here at Jack Hammer, looking at some of the guys trying to work their way still up, or maybe the second time up this here ravine.
You know, you think about riding it one time, and then you think, oh no, I got to go do this again.
Yeah, laps are Laps are touchy that way. Sometimes they're your friend, and sometimes it's the mirror enemy.
You know what? The never give up attitude is what we have out here, and I got to give these guys a big round of applause because they don't quit. It's not in their motto. It's not in their making, their DNA, as they say. These guys are just tough stuff.
It looks like we've actually got a Sherco here on the screen right now, and if that's the case, that's probably Wayne with Topar Racing.
Yeah, it's Wayne Dickert out there.
Yeah, so South African gentleman with lots to say.
Yeah.
He has a very diverse vocabulary.
He and Jason Gitchell are teaming up. I don't know. That's not Jason off to his left, but Jason can't be far behind. The only reason I say I don't think that's Jason is a really big guy. So, but if that's Wayne was really looking forward to riding this new bike here. He rides all the vet classes at Enduro Cross and does all the local races that he can. So Wayne is a competitor without a doubt.
We've got a gentleman here working his way up the left side, trying to work by the other dude that's behind Wayne Dickert. So everybody's starting to pile in there, trying to figure out which line to take to get through this part here at Jackhammer. And that's when it's hard. So the one that just showed up here on the Yamaha, he has no place to go and he's kind of frustrated. You can tell he's getting off the bike. He wants to push a little bit. And it looks like maybe Wayne just got that Sherco airborne.
Well, you know, everything's replaceable.
Yeah, with the right checkbook.
Hey, it just takes money. The one thing I do know is money does not buy skill. It does for the factories. They buy the guys who are the best. But at this point in time, you can't find somebody to ride it for you.
Yeah, that's the determination it takes to get out there every day and make sure you're riding the bike and learning how it changes and moves within the trails and on the rocks and all the different types of terrain. Now this looked a little bit more like me when I was going down Chocolate Thunder, and if he lays this bike over, it'll be almost identical.
So when you're talking to Mitch, it sounded like maybe Max Gerson actually came in front of him, but we haven't seen Max on the box.
That's correct.
We haven't made it up here to the podium.
Yeah, and he was behind Noah Kimpel. Now we remember back when we were talking about the map, but they're in fourth. And he was on his Beta 300 RR. So we've got 5 different brands in the top 5.
Like I said, we're still waiting for first Japanese bike.
It's going to be a while.
You know, back in the days, I can remember when KTM was a pretty decent off-road bike, but the big thumb in the eye was they're not a motocrosser. It's kind of funny, when Roger DeCoster left Suzuki and came to KTM, and I know this from talking with him himself, he goes, the first demand I told him is, I'm going to bring Ryan Dungey, and we are not going to have a bike without a linkage. That was his demand to come to KTM.
It's interesting. That discussion has been all over the map. Linkage, no linkage. So it's interesting to hear that Roger DeCoster was was the proponent to bring that KTM had to have linkage bikes.
And he actually went to Austria and helped him with the design of that bike. So yeah, the man. Again, talking to people that work down there, they're like, Roger's the first guy in the morning and the last guy out at night. He locks the door and cleans the parking lot. So, not giving up. He's, 70 years old? And God, you wouldn't hardly know it.
When it's in your blood, it's in your blood. You just want to breathe it, eat it, and sleep it. I love watching these guys work their way up there, though. He's having a tough time of it, but he's making it work. He's just kind of popping the clutch, moving the throttle a little bit to make sure that bike can create some momentum, and then using that horsepower to kind of leverage it around, pivoting a little bit when he knows he needs to turn so he can follow that track a little bit better, and then just kind of goat trailing his way up.
I'm all for night ride, but I'm not sure I could even contemplate trying this.
I do think that this would be a lot of fun, but I think it would be a lot of fun with 5 or 6 buddies, and you're out there just goofing off, and less of the idea of a race behind it. I just feel like you get into a different mindset when it's a green flag and a checkered flag, and you kind of push yourself in ways that you probably wouldn't sometimes, for the detriment of your
attack. Daytime racing is way different.
What happen tomorrow is going to be very interesting because it's the first time we've had a pro-only section here at King of the Motos, and so within that, it's like a very short section. I believe it's under 5 miles, but it is extremely extreme, is what we have been told.
You didn't get out there and look at it yourself?
I did not. I would have walked it.
Hey.
I would have walked part of it had Jimmy decided that it was okay for me to know where that location was, but he did not want to disclose that information for any of the riders or anybody besides himself. So I have not seen it yet, and I can only imagine that if it's Jimmy put together, it is going to be a very interesting track for them to follow.
I always love Jimmy when he says, the entire course was laid out on a KTM 200. You don't need a high-speed bike. You need a bike that you can ride. It's durable. You know it's going to last the race. So he makes it fairly clear that it's not bike, it's going to be rider and preparation.
And that is the exact KTM 200 that I rode around when I was doing some pre-riding here with Jimmy. And even though the bike wanted to make it a couple times, there was a little bit of rider error that held back that 200 from all of its prowess.
I had a 200 I rode for a number of years. I loved that thing. I couldn't believe that little bike could haul this fat body around so well. Never let me down. Had the Recluse on board. It had the old style Recluse.
I very much enjoy my 300 right now. I have a 300 two-stroke at the house in Sherco as well. And very much enjoy the extra power that comes with that guy whenever I want it.
I took a friend's 450 out, KTM, brand new bike. I rode it about 2 miles. I brought it back. I said, I'm done. Thank you. The bike's way too fast for me. Way more power than I would ever.
It's tough to notice, but when we're looking down Chocolate Thunder, this is a very wide section. So there's a kind of a line off to the left that the trucks can take, and then a little bit more of a line off to the right. But just because with the way it's lit up with the lights from the rider, and it looks like this rider's helmet light is out. It's kind of tough to tell that there's actually much more terrain there that is rideable. But at the same time, it is very steep and very rocky.
He's found that bouncy motion there. He's getting down, coming into the finish line. You think he's happy when he sees that?
Oh, I'm sure he's excited to be there at that Nitro Mousse arch.
Again, we want to thank the folks from Schampa here who are taking care of our sponsorship on the 2018 King of the Motos, the night edition, as I call it. And it's all going to crank up again tomorrow morning, folks. You're going to want to get out here. You're going to want to see it. I bet we have lots more people out at the start line for the morning rounds.
Oop, have to get off the bike and do a little push here. He might have been having issues out there, so he's a little bit more tired, just hanging out there trying to get that bike up this horseshoe. The temperature's actually gotten a little bit colder, so obviously we are out in the desert. The sun goes down and it just gets a little bit cooler and continues to drop. So hopefully some of the riders are prepared for that. I don't know if they were knowing how long they would be out there, if they'd be good to go for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, potentially 4 hours for the amount of riding that they may have to do. But it looks like now this gentleman is definitely pulling on his bike. One thing that works well is a nice sleeveless vest. That way the arms can still get a lot of wind and keep some wind on the body to keep everything breathing, but that way it keeps the core warm kind of when you're in there in a little bit of the chillier temperatures.
And we do have a time limit on this stuff. These guys are not going to be out here all night long.
It's a good long amount of time though. They've got 4 hours if they want to spend it to finish it up. Well, it looks like he's beyond that little section that he was kind of hiccuped on, but at the same time, he's still kind of popping that front wheel up, almost seeing if he can potentially loop out that motorcycle for our benefit. Looks like we can see some riders there at Jackhammer there at the bottom right of the corner. So it looks like those guys might be still trying to finish up their second lap, getting up Jackhammer, while we've got guys here on Chocolate Thunder finishing up their night race.
There we go. Again, that dual headlight setup looks pretty awesome out there. Lights it up pretty well. Like I said, there's lots of choices now out there for you. You know, whether it's Rigid or Baja Design, Rigid Industries. Baja Design set up right over here in our pits where they're got their easy up. I was over looking at their product line earlier today.
So we've got the guys there at Jackhammer going through, and it looks like there's another gentleman. They're trying to finish Chocolate Thunder. It looks like the bottleneck though that we have some of the guys are starting to team up a little bit to try to help each other. Oh, then we've got another rider finishing up, finished through that Nitro Moose Arch. I know he's excited to be done, but he's probably going to be heading back to recover a little bit, work on the bike, and get ready for that 9 a.m. race tomorrow morning. There we go. He's going to be hitting more extreme, gnarly terrain. There we go, back at back at Jackhammer. We're looking at some of the guys that are trying to get back up Jackhammer. And it looks like we can see a blinking red light. So that gentleman is probably facing the wrong direction if we can see that blinking red light. That means that he is in a place that he needs to turn around and get that bike pointed in a different direction. But what it sounds like we're hearing right now over the comms is that we're having our first amateur come into Chocolate
Yeah, they're
Thunder,
starting to
getting ready
trickle.
to work his day down. So he's finished up hitting his jackhammers and working his way through the desert in the nighttime and working his way over to Chocolate Thunder. But we're still here looking at Jackhammer and some of the other gentlemen and ladies out there trying to get their way up to make their way to the desert so that they can then get to Chocolate Thunder.
So Brian, did you hear that information coming across the radio there? Our first, looks like our overall guy right now is a young man, 16 years old. Jackson Watson, I believe is what they're telling me.
Fantastic.
Nice, huh? His dad is actually one of the original King of the Hammer guys.
Whoa,
Man,
well that's awesome.
that's digging
So he
deep.
grew up doing this kind of stuff,
Yeah,
didn't he?
man, he's been eating Johnson Valley dirt for breakfast, lunch, and dinner now for 16 years.
Well, it shows in his results if he's working his way as a top amateur there into Chocolate Valley, Chocolate Thunder.
Yeah, Chocolate Thunder, Chocolate Valley. Right now, I'd be looking for a hot fudge sundae in Chocolate Thunder, you know?
I'd like something that's maybe a warm hot cocoa.
Trust me, I've been here when it was so cold that we were taking 9-volt batteries and doing reverse polarity to get our hands warm on them. Don't recommend it, but it does work.
As long as you weren't licking the batteries, I think
Exactly.
we're probably in a good place.
No, that's how you just test them to see if the wireless is going to go. We've only got 2.5 hours for these guys from start to finish, I believe is what I just understood. And we must be getting to a cutoff time here eventually. The riders will be sent back to the pit area. I always look back and I'm thinking, now, the guy looking back behind him with his helmet light does a wonderful job of lighting up the other lane there for the rider. See like that? That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting to see if these guys are working together or if he just kind of is looking back to see, he might be just looking back to see what his rear tire is on. But now that he's kind of hanging in there a little bit, it might be one of those situations where he is trying to help those guys out by lighting up the spot that they're in. They're definitely holding court, though, the two gentlemen that are sitting there talking to each other,
Yes,
deciding
they
if they
are.
want to continue on or if they've maybe had enough.
They're holding court right now and discussing what happens if I could pull out right now. Would I head for home? And the other guy's going, no, we're going to the finish line. That's what we came here for. Starting to get a little brisk, a little wind blowing up out here, which would actually help kind of clear the dust. Although right now, a minute ago, I was having trouble seeing. I was looking out, and the lights that are flashing over the crowd here, over the backdrop of one of our vendor tents. Man, the dust was just getting so thick, and my glasses was hard to see, and I can only imagine what it was like for the riders out there. The guys, that's another thing about goggle prep. You know, they all know how to prep for wet conditions, but for these conditions, they use a lot of static guard. Basically the same thing you clean a screen on your computer with, to get the dust not to stick. And if you go up there and you start wiping it, which is the natural thing to do, it's a bad plan.
Yeah, it was interesting too being able to talk to Colton Hacker about his yellow light that he was running. So it actually, to help the glare stay down in the dust. So kind of like that wall of dust that we were talking about that looks a lot like mist. So the yellow lights for him were an attempt to try to keep that glare that comes because of that to a minimum. And he said it worked to a degree, but then what was happening was the dust was actually collecting on the lens of the light and actually kind of hindering how well the light worked at that point.
I wonder how many of these, the dust is getting behind the lenses on the lights, causing problems.
Yeah, the proper thing to do would be to clean the whole system. Make
Yeah.
sure you clean the front, take it off, and clean the back sides so that you're ready to go for tomorrow in case you're going to use your lights again. Because Noah Keppel actually ran his lights last year that he had on the side of his bike.
Right.
And that way, in some of the little bit darker areas, in the shadowy areas, he could actually have better visibility
Right, in
some
the
of the
canyon.
rocks. Yep.
Up in the canyon. Not a bad idea. That's good thinking on that young man's part. I'm going to give credit to his mom, Dr. Keppel. The doctor's in the house. Folks gather around the campfire out there. Looks like it's pretty toasty where you guys are at. We thank you for coming out and being part of this. Hey, you know what? Come back tomorrow. Let's do it all over again. So, Brian, you think we do have Max Gersten as an official finisher? Just a no-show on our part?
Yeah, I'm sure that it was some of the guys were getting told to come over here to talk to us so we could get a quick interview, and some of the other gentlemen maybe weren't. So it's just one of those things. So hopefully he's in fourth and we can get that, and we'll be good to go once the official results come back after they get a chance to check all their track logs.
Well, these guys continue to struggle, and I'll bet you eventually we're going to go to a commercial somewhere along here. I'm getting tired of watching these guys. I mean, I'm physically getting tired, not tired of watching them, but tired for them.
Yes,
while
I am definitely worn out. I know
Man.
that they are moving and shaking and trying to move those motorcycles, but man, it is. I know that it hurts, and it is not the best time sometimes. So it looks like we've got another rider kind of coming up Jackhammer, but these guys, just look how dark that is, because of the fact that when those guys are just kind of looking where they're at, specifically to where their bike is on the rocks, everything else is just pitch black around those guys. And it is getting colder by the minute out there for them. It looks like we've got another rider here finishing up at Chocolate Thunder, coming up that top horseshoe, that finishing horseshoe we were talking about.
And we have to thank the rider behind him for providing such a good light for us to see this.
And he's doing a really great job the way that he's maneuvering that bike up and down and kind of goat trailing his way up through those rocks. Looks like he's made it to that top part. He's going to turn around, go up another stair step, get his way to that Nitro Moose Arch.
I know we're calling it Nitro Moose, but I think it's Nitto tires is what it is. But we'll call it Nitro. I like that. We got a big one right over here off our left shoulder too, and I think it says Nitto on it. Sorry, thought I'd put that out there. In case the Nitto folks are listening in, I don't want to give them a short stick. God, that looks like cave crawling right now, doesn't it? Looks like they're inside of something.
What I love is from the perspective we have, it looks like he has little ears on his helmet.
Yes, it does. It looks like
from
you got
the
Mickey
shadow
Mouse
of those
ears,
lights,
huh?
Yep.
You know, I've been expecting to see a rider by the name of Quinn Winsel coming through. Quinn, pretty talented rider, rides GNCCs, rides a lot of hair scrambles, rides trials at an expert level. So a long, tall guy he is. I expect to see him hanging out here near the front tomorrow in the daytime.
Yeah, Quinn actually has been coming to Texas a couple times recently for some of the events that we've had. He was there for the Grim Possible, which he actually won, which is the Graham Jarvis Challenge. So Graham Jarvis came over to Texas, set up a bunch of tests, and performed those tests to show the riders where they had to go. And then they did their best to implement what he did.
Is that how that worked?
Well,
I saw some of the video on that. It looked pretty interesting.
And Quinn's the one the rider that won, and then he came back for the Rev Limiter. Last year he was third at the Rev Limiter, and this year unfortunately he did have some bicycle malfunctions, some bike malfunctions,
Yeah, that
and
too.
because of that unfortunately couldn't finish one of the last races, so he did not make it to the final. But he's definitely gaining a lot of momentum and confidence when it comes to extreme enduros.
I'm going to take a shot. I think this could be Ryan Wells coming into view. Ryan out of the ride shop on the Golden tires. You know, a lot of different tires are being run out here. There's Dunlops. There's the Golden tire. Of course, Kenda's got a couple of really cool stuff. And then I like the Shinko Cheater. I mean, who would name their tire a cheater tire? I like that.
It's just calling it what it is. It's a tire that's going to help you out. Yeah, the Kenda Ibex is definitely one that's been the most purchased for a very long time, just because the Dunlops were very hard to get and very expensive. And so Kenda came to the market with the Ibex and the Equilibrium, and those were great tires. But now you're seeing a lot more manufacturers come to market with a kind of a specific gummy tire for a lot of these extreme enduros.
I'll tell you a little bit about a tire technology story. I pretty much thought tires were tires. They were all pretty much the same. One year at Phoenix Supercross, one of the guys that was there working for Dunlop happened to strike up a bit of a friendship with him. And he called me over. He goes, "Hey, I got a tire for your daughter. We just took it off of one of the factory teams, the 250F bike. And I put that on her Kawasaki." She immediately came back and said, "What'd you do to my bike? It works so much better." The only problem was, it's the first time I ever saw that girl really wear out a tire. It didn't last very long, but boy, when it was there, it worked good. So yeah, those guys in Supercross, those factory tires are way better than what you and I buy.
Yeah, and that was what Cody Webb for a long time was getting, was a very specific kind of pro-only gummy tire that Dunlop was putting together, and they were so sticky that the oils would actually leave a residue on the tire. So if you go up and touch it, you can kind of feel the oils from it on your fingers. Yep. It's very, very, very gummy.
One of the things we tested with, and if those of you out there would ever want to try it, they've got a chemical that you can soak a tire in that they use for drag racing and dirt track racing. Actually, it's a tire softener. I used some of that on a knobby, and it worked pretty dang good.
Cody Webb had a funny story where he was actually trying to do that with diesel. And
they were
wrap the tires and keep them to when he was driving to the races because it would smell so bad in the truck. So I think that's interesting, trying to create a gummy tire by soaking it in diesel fuel.
They wrap them in saran wrap. They wrap them in burlap. One guy even had a setup that I know that ran Endurocross where the tire was on a little rotating motor and it just went through a trough, you know, like we would test a tube in, and the tire just sat there and ran and ran. They set it on there for like 12, 14 hours. It's like putting a big old ham on a spit.
So it was a very well-soaked tire.
Yeah. Anything to get that little bit of advantage, you know? I found for tires for me, one that holds air is pretty dang good.
I can't disagree with that. And we've seen a lot, not just tires, but a lot of different technology as well for what goes in the tires. So for the longest time, we've been running tubes or mousses from Michelin, but now there's a lot. Tubeless setup, yeah. So it's actually a very small tire that holds the bead on PSI.
It's like a bicycle tube, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It's a very small one. Obviously 18 or 19 inch for rear and 21 inch for the front. And then that way you can run whatever you want to run there in the main carcass of the tire. Now these tires are still rated for a certain PSI, so you don't want to go crazy going too low, but at the same time, I do know that there have been people out there that have run 2, 3, 4 PSI and never had the bike come off, the tire come off the bead.
Noah's dad told me there's times when they're running 2 PSI in the tubeless setup. Not in the small tube, that's like 125, but in the regular tire, they're running 2 PSI. They get that sidewall flex, it reaches out there, grabs the rock, and torques it around and twists it, and man, I don't know, I'd like to try it, but I'm a little leery.
Yeah, I think most of the time when I run the tubeless, because I do run the tubeless in my KTMs and my Shercos that I have, typically in that kind of 6 in the rear, 8 in the front.
Okay.
But if it's where I want a lot of grip, but if it's a little bit faster, I'll go around 8 in the rear and 10 in the front. I feel a little bit more secure that way and less roll with the tire.
One of the things we found down in Baja back in the days working with Dan Smith and Mark Miller and Brent Wallingsford, Scott Hart, and all of them down there testing Messlers. That's when we started running argon in them instead of air. And the reason we ran argon, because argon was easier to get than nitrogen at the time. So we carried argon bottles around, which is what they're using in a TIG welder. And we found that using an inert gas like argon or nitrogen, the pressures did not rise near as fast. And when we had those asphalt sections where we ran down, where the knobs would just chunk off, is because the tires overheated. So
100, 120 miles an hour on a gravel road or a cement road for that long will definitely heat up the tire on you.
True story, 500 KTM. They put Jimmy Lewis on it down in Baja with a radar. Jimmy cranks off about 108 miles an hour. They put Danny Hamill on the bike, who outweighed Jimmy by about 30, 40 pounds maybe. He was almost 7 miles an hour faster than Jimmy. We just figured he was more aerodynamic and got better traction on that rear wheel or something, man. But yeah, over 100 miles an hour on a dirt bike, no thanks.
Well, it looks like we've got a couple guys coming here into Chocolate Thunder, kind of trying to catch each other. Now, it does matter, so if one of these guys gets in there before the other, it's just going to be better points for the way that the motos are going to work out by the end of the racing come tomorrow afternoon. So they definitely want to be there in front of their competitors as much as possible.
They must have just rolled through finish because they got the fence line there going through. The first rider through had the double stack light bar on there. Tell you what, those are pretty neat, but they could also be the guys tell me it's a little difficult to get set up correctly.
Yeah, a big part of that is all about angle. You can't just put the light in there and just call it good. You got to make sure that you get the right angle, that it's pointed in the direction that you want it to go to, so that you can see the best and works the best for you as the rider on the motorcycle.
Yeah, this is a trio of riders coming in through here. Maybe these guys have helped each other along the way.
Yeah, these might be a little team of guys going, which way do you think the best? Or maybe they're helping each other light up the area so that they can get through it and then wait at the top so that it can help light the rocks up for other riders. They're making a really good go at it.
There you go. I like that little pirouette there. I've tried that recently. It didn't go that well.
No, it's nowhere near as pretty when I do it. It's much more entertaining, but it's not as pretty.
Pretty much what I was able to do was a 180 and go back the way I came.
Oh, we got a bike down. His pirouette did not work out the way that he planned. That's typically what I would look like.
There you are. I think these guys are moving some of those rocks out of the way as they go.
You think it could be easier for us or harder?
Maybe. Probably harder, but that's a good feeling. You guys will listen, the camera's actually close enough. We're picking up the sounds of the bike.
You can hear somebody on a 4-stroke pumping their way through, and then you can hear those 2 strokes revving out.
That poor guy's doing a bad imitation of a chainsaw.
And now his friend's going to come up there and see if he can light the way for him.
There you go.
Or potentially use him as traction.
May think it's a bridge.
Yeah, so it does look like these guys are teaming up. So we can see the one that made it to the top walking his way down. They can use his lights to kind of help those guys out.
That's how you do it. The camaraderie shown out there on the race course is amazing. These folks, you know, that's what I like about off-road versus, say, motocross. Motocross is cutthroat. You don't like that person next to you. Out here, you rely on that person next to you to help you, stay with you if you're hurt. Whoops.
Oh, you could hear that crunch. That's not the sound you want to hear when your bike runs into a rock like that. You just got to check it out, make sure there's no hole, make sure nothing's leaking, and probably just give it another go and keep having fun with it.
Something else if you'll look at, go look at Cody Webb's bike. Cody Webb uses the devices that go into the handlebars for vibration, but because they're metal and they stick out, when the bike tips over, there's a lot less chance of damaging a lever. So instead of wraparound handguards, they're just using the anti-vibration devices. Fine folks at GPR are the ones who designed that setup.
Yeah, I always like those neat little products like that where somebody kind of thinks outside the box and finds a smart new product to make. It doesn't need to be a big thing, right? It could be a very small thing like that that just makes such a big difference in the long run on the performance of the bike. Now, in this case, it could be the performance of the bike after you're picking it up off the ground, but that's obviously part of it too. Sometimes the bike has to keep going so you can finish the race.
Yeah, my life is good with the Recluse auto clutch. The other thing that I can't live without on my motorcycle are the fastway bars, handlebars. I love those. Hey, back for the map briefly.
That was just a teaser there.
Doesn't take much to confuse us. I think it's a Husqvarna. Looks like a white bike. Or some people refer to it as the white KTM.
Yeah, they've definitely done a good job trying to differentiate themselves. It's tough though when they have their headquarters right next to each other. But they're definitely made attempts to differentiate the bikes as more and more model years have come out.
One of the things about KTM is corporate owned. There's a number of guys and people that have money into it. The Husqvarna side is Mr. Pierre who owns it all. He's a major owner of KTM, but he owns all of Husqvarna.
It's probably for him, it was just making sure that name didn't go out of business and disappear, because Husqvarna has been around for a very long time in the motorcycle world.
Heck, when I was a kid growing up, my mom had a Husqvarna sewing machine. I think it was awesome. It had a transmission and everything. Stitched through leather. It was cool.
Yeah, neat tidbit is that the Husqvarna logo is actually looking down the barrel of a gun sight. So the W that you see at the top is actually the sights of a gun, as if you would be looking down the barrel.
That's true.
From when they originally were making handguns.
Back in the days, I can remember when they came to America, and of course, Malcolm Smith was riding, and bringing all the fame and fortune out here. They sent over a guy from Europe to do some desert racing named Rolf Tiblin. I watched Tiblin finish a hare and hound in Nevada, got off the bike, got a bucket of water, and washed the bike before he loaded it in the van.
That's dedication.
Yep, cleaned it up before it went home.
Looks like we've got another rider standing there kind of helping light the path. You guys we saw have issues before.
Just enough of a breeze out here to chill it up a little bit.
Yeah, the temperature is definitely dropping, and that's going to play into some of these gentlemen and ladies out there that are racing, because if they didn't plan for the one to be out there that long, or two for the temperature to drop that much, they may not have prepared with that enough gear to be
moved toward the fire. The fire pit right now has got a nice conglomerate around it. You guys are all spread out a bit. You've gotten closer as you've watched this King of the Motos, the kickoff event here. First thing this evening, and we are just having an excellent time. Colton Haker in second. Third place is still a bit confused.
Yeah, it looks like Noah Keppel, but we
Right.
did with fourth and fifth.
Fourth
Obviously,
place,
was maybe Max Gersten
Yeah.
and Mitch Conklin. So again, we know that that's unofficial, but we just want to try to keep you guys as abreast as possible. But once we do get official track logs, and they let us know, we can officially do it.
Jimmy Lewis's tease where you get to that one point, you can see the finish, but you've got to go up that hill and turn around and come through it.
Oh yeah, just got to make sure that it's difficult for everybody, and that it's not as, oh look, there's the finish, and we've still got more to go.
Sorry. Sounds like maybe a 125 in there. That bike is ripping and roaring
I
there.
wonder if that's our gentleman on the TM.
Yeah, it could be. As I look at it with the headlight, I see a little reflection off that aluminum gas tank, maybe.
Is that our Wayne Dickert on the Sherco? Bouncing around there, that second guy. The gentleman's walking up to him. Some of these guys might still be pros, but a lot of these guys are probably some of the amateurs that they're started after the pros. They do have a couple more, a little bit of time to finish if they choose, if they're going to try to make sure they make it in a time limit. They can continue in the race after the fact because it's just a moto style format. So they're going to do, it's how they place in this moto is just going to add points to their official total score towards the end of the weekend. So we do know that with Cody Webb, if he does officially get first, then he's going to have the lowest score, and it goes back that way in the Olympic style scoring. So lower for the better that they do as you go through the weekend. This must be a little treacherous spot because everybody comes to it and kind of slows down, wants to see what's there as before they drop their front end or their front wheel off of that little ledge and work their way towards the finish arc down there at the bottom. Even though they do pick up a little bit of speed, it looks like there's another little drop off there. So right before that arch, they want to go ahead and slow down before they, pick their way there to the finish. And just look how dark it is out there with no riders on that downhill. It is extremely dark out there without lights. Now we get a chance to see these guys come light it up for everybody. So close to the finish and unfortunately getting stuck right there where he's got to lift his bike and a gentleman coming up behind him, creating a tad bit of a bottleneck, and he just wants to finish and get to that cooler so he can have himself a nice cold beer. Kind of pan our way up to the darkness on the hill. Look at that. So we've got some guys still working their way up towards the top a little bit, trying to make that happen. The lights for a night race definitely add to the technicality of what is going on out there. And just as a reminder, these guys are out there using a GPS to navigate. Now, once they're here at the Shock of Thunder, obviously they can kind of see which way other riders have gone. But without those lights, they would not be able to see very much, obviously, if anything. And then the track logs that they have there in their GPS devices are what they're following to make sure they know where they're going and how they're getting to all the different spots. So once they're in the little bit bigger areas where they have lights, it's a little bit easier for them to kind of know what's going on, but at the same time, it is definitely adds to the difficult level of everything going on up there. And since Dave has done this for a very long time, he was nice enough to go ask somebody to get us some chairs. And so now we're sitting down, making bring you guys some extra action. Now you just need to go see if they can bring us a fire pit.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to let us light the plywood on fire up here. The good guys at Baja Designs brought it over. I asked them for the tall chair because I need like a high chair. Get old, the hips start going away, the knees get bad, and the racing's good. We'll just take it from there. Brian, you've done this a lot. What do you think's going through their minds? Really? What do you think that guy's thinking right now?
There's a little bit of frustration. It's hard not to get frustrated with yourself in some of these situations because you feel like you've practiced this. You feel like you've put yourself in this situation before, and you should just be riding right up it. But the problem is once you second guess yourself once, it's unfortunately a mental game that you've already lost. And it's that confidence that you need to keep up and continue to know that you've done the training, you've practiced, and you know that you can ride the terrain and the bike in the situation that you're in. So when you're failing to a degree in these situations and crashing and picking the bike up over and over again, not only are you physically wearing yourself down, but at the same time, mentally, it's beginning to wear yourself down. So it is very taxing physically and mentally, the more mistakes that you do make. And it's unfortunate, but it's part of the process.
It is part of that process, isn't it? I mean, just tipping over like that, on a normal day, that would be no big deal. You just get up and get going, but you've already expend so much energy just to get to this point, and to think that tomorrow morning you're going to do it all over again. These guys are truly in good physical shape, got the desire to do an awesome job, which they're showing us. They ride these bikes with great effort and in some cases unbelievably talented skill. So just got to give a thumbs up to every one of these riders who attempts to ride the king of the motos.
Yeah, a lot of these guys cross-train on mountain bikes too because of the cardiovascular exercise that brings. It's just that much easier for them to be able to breathe and transfer oxygen throughout the body. So if you do a lot of cycling, it can kind of help train your body for that, for these times when you're needing to take deeper breaths and really kind of focus and try to stay mentally strong and physically fit. And so it's been great being able to talk with a lot of the riders on how they cross-train and why they cross-train, and some of the riders that they ride with that might be specific mountain bikers that they would ride with, or specific road riders, so that they can kind of get a little bit of that cross-training with other athletes that push themselves in other cross-disciplines.
Now, when you were out there riding the course, did you see some of the guys who were marking the course? I mean, if they're marking it, they're walking that stuff. They hang those ribbons and banners, and I know there's arrows out there and stakes that are actually hammered into the ground. The guys were carting around here all types of marking materials, making sure that the riders are keeping track. Even though they have the navigation device on their bike, it's still nice to have a hard, some sort of a banner or barrier there that tells you, hey, I'm on course.
Yeah, it was very interesting talking to Jimmy Lewis about that, because while we were out there was very little marking. Now, he did mention that they were going to have to go through before the specific events and make sure that little sections like this, so they could create this horseshoe that we're seeing here at the end of Chocolate Thunder, would have to be created so that it was a little bit easier for the riders to know, obviously being at night, how tough it was to see those sections. But since they're going mainly navigation, arrows that they're going to see throughout the day or throughout this evening and tomorrow are very minimal, and they're in the very, very important, potentially dangerous spots. And he did mention that he didn't put up one X because the whole area is an X. The whole area is definitely a danger zone.
The other thing, people who are maybe tuning in, watching this, or are out there or whatever, these guys are riding And there is medical personnel on the course. And if a rider was to get injured, they already have a way to get to him and a way to get them out. It may not be real quick, but these folks are not riding out here alone. Of course, they're depending on their fellow competitors as well as their first contact of first aid.
And we've seen a lot of progress when it comes to safety of motorcyclists, and obviously with SCORE and a lot of the other events that do a lot of desert racing with the Kurt Caselli Foundation. So they've been very proactive in helping having pre-inspection of race courses, and as well working with different safety devices with different tracker companies, so that there are better ways, or that if a rider is hurt in a very remote area, that he can use an alert system to get back to the race promoters and organizers, to get medics to as close to his location as they can, to safely get them out of there to the emergency services that he needs.
Yeah, and the riders are carrying what they call the brick, the yellow brick. It's a device, it's a tracking device. From time to time, we've had the map pop up. It'll actually show us on the map where they're at, but that's following each rider around the race course. And if for some reason they start seeing the tracker way off course going where they should not be, somebody's going to go out and find out why.
Yeah, obviously we don't want to say that anybody's out there cheating, but that could be a potential. But then at the same time, too, that rider could be lost.
Exactly.
We want to make sure that we're watching those guys to make sure that we can either get them back on course or go find them and make sure they get home in one piece.
We're not going to leave anybody out there. Is that another finisher?
Yeah, we've got more guys
Cool.
coming through.
Now tomorrow, of course, we'll have the finish line right here by the stage. I'll tell you what, folks, you just brought up the map of the course. Now the little pin marks that are out there, those are riders who are actually on course, where they're at. We're going to get some more feedback, as you can see from time. Wayne Dickert out there, part of that, he and Jason Gitchell on the team. So Tucker Hopkins, he's one of our amateur riders. These are our amateur riders. Wayne Dickert is not a kid. He is a tough guy. I mean, he could just as easily be home in a lazy boy, feet propped up, watching Supercross. Rodrigo out there, another one of our amateurs. The bulk of our guys are now out there who are our amateurs who have the no give up attitude. We're back in chocolate right now. Now these guys have been riding, like I said, some folks would want to be home with their feet up. These guys want to be out on that course. They want to be churning knobbies and twisting the throttle and making life as good as it can be.
And what's great, if you really think about it, these guys are out here for the pure love of it.
Oh, yeah.
There's no podium perch for these guys to make it into this moto and to do so good. These are the guys that work their 9 to 5s, and most likely they work way more than a 9 to 5 to be out here, to be successful in life, and to be able to come enjoy their time on a dirt bike. And not just enjoy time on a dirt bike, but to be enjoying their times, the 2018 Schampa King of the Motos.
This is a man and machine versus terrain, without a doubt. You know, I think this goes right up there with anything like technical rock climbing, or just, this is an extreme sport, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's not X Games. I think it's harder than X Games, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's so much. One of the things that's really hard to tell is how much technical finesse is actually going on, and that's why we've seen guys like Cody Webb and Colton Haker and those guys do so well, because of the trials background. So what we've started to see is your weekend warriors, the guys that are here in the amateur class, are actually buying trials bikes that they can practice trials on the weekends as well when they're out there, because it's that bike control that just really creates that opportunity for you to be that much better in these super technical situations.
And Brian, I think when these guys you talk to afterwards, they go, you know, I must have dropped that bike and picked it up 100 times. I'm going to look at them and say, you know what? I think you're wrong. I think it may have been 200 times.
I watched you from the prompter,
yeah,
and it was many more than 100 times.
You lost count after the first 50 or so. But nobody's pulling off. We're listening on the radio. Not one of these riders has come across and go, hey, what's the fastest way back, to Hammertown? I'm done. No, they're going to ride it to the finish line. They're going to take it through Chocolate Thunder, and they're going to cross under the arch, and they're going to conquer this one.
Yeah, I love that about these extreme enduros. That's one of the things that, as we've seen the rise of these style of dirt bike events coming about, it's not just, oh cool, I want to finish. Sometimes it's, I want to be able to do one lap.
Yeah.
I want to be out there for the time that I'm allotted, and I'm going to try to get as far as I get. And then when I come back and do it again next year, I just want to be able to get further. And it's been great to be able to have friends that have gone to events like King of the Motos and to wanting to qualify for certain events. But this year, obviously, the moto format's a little bit different. And the same way at Tennessee Knockout and a lot of the other events, it's either I want to be able to make it further than I've made it last year, or I want to try to qualify for a position I did not qualify for the year before.
Brian, every year I hear guys, they talk to them, they're like, you ask them, you coming back next year? I don't know. I don't think so. And then you see them 3 months later and you're going, so what you been doing? Oh, man, I got my navigation set up. I've been out riding rocks like nobody's business. I'm like, I thought you weren't sure if you were coming back. Well, after the race I wasn't, but right now, not only am I coming back, but I'm going to be better at it when I do come back.
Ride more, less beer.
Yeah.
Right? That's what all the amateurs were telling us when they were getting ready for King of the Motos for this year.
And these are the guys that aren't there, they don't have big buck sponsors. They're working out of their pocket. Their wives are sacrificing time away from home to support their husbands or boyfriends. And this year, I believe we have no women racers, but in the past we've had women racers out here who their husbands and boyfriends have been the ones who have been out there cheering them on. I can think of just a handful of riders like Morgan Tankey, Rachel Gudish, who we missed dearly this year. Morgan, of course, is recovering from a broken wrist. And Rachel Gudish is finishing up her senior year at DePaul University.
It's
going to be like Cody Webb. She's going to be a college graduate.
It's great to see these everybody realizing that sometimes, that moto has a shelf life.
Yeah.
And that in the long run that you're going to be done with this probably sooner than you want to be, whatever that turns out to be time-wise for you, but that you need to be able to have some kind of a backup plan. And to see these guys going to different universities, getting their different bachelor's degrees and moving forward with that other part of their life while still being able to race and be competitive and train is very inspiring.
I'm going to give a little yeehaw to Ryan Wells. Ryan Wells is a young man who works out of a shop called The Ride Shop, which is owned by a pretty well-known guy by the name of Johnny Wiseman, who just happened to be Destry Abbott's mechanic through all of his national Hare and Hound championships, built a bunch of his 6 days bikes and stuff. So Ryan's out here. Ryan is becoming one of Arizona's best suspension technicians. So, you know what? He has to build it, he has to ride it and test it, and this is how he does it. He comes out and does King of the Moto.
Know what he needs to do to that suspension to get it to work out here.
I know what can happen when it doesn't work. I've seen it. We saw the big crash last year.
And that's definitely one of the things that is interesting about this event is how there are so many different dynamics to it, right? So not only is it a navigation thing, but there's also the fact that you're in the desert for a bit, which can be a little bit more high speed. You could also be in these extreme sections. And so when you're in these extreme sections, it's obviously the suspension that you're going to want in those is going to be completely different. When you're in the desert, the high speed, completely different. But you can't have both. You can just try to find a middle ground.
Check out the rider here. He's walking the bike down the terrain. You know what? That is just the way you got to get it done, man. It's not you got to be pretty. You got to have all this technique. If it's walking the bike, that's what you do.
He's going to get to that finish line one way or the other. And I will tell you that I have definitely walked my bike down a couple of things.
The next accessory I'm going to put on my bike with the Recluse Auto Clutch is the handbrake on the clutch side for the rear wheel. I'm thinking there are times when I can't get to that brake pedal, and there are times when you're just jammed up on a rock or something, and being able to touch that lever and make that rear brake work. Hey, got to do it. They've got it out there for you. You can put it on your bike, and they're great.
It's been interesting with the Sherco 300 that I've been riding. I was thinking about putting a Recluse on because I've been running Recluses for a long time on a lot of my motorcycles, but because it's a new bike to me, I really wanted to kind of see if I thought that it needed the Recluse.
Yeah.
And then I wound up putting the Midwest Engineering levers on. And so with the Sherco 300, I have very rarely stalled the motorcycle, but then have now put those Midwest Engineering levers on. The pull on those levers is pretty spectacular. Wow. And so I've really been enjoying the kind of setup that I've come around with. It's been a lot of fun to play around and figure stuff out.
The cutoff here at the finish line will be at 10 p.m. So we get a good hour and 40 minutes. So it's playing the amateur, all these amateur riders on.
Like I said, these guys, it's funny. You look like these. It looks like they're in some kind of a mine tunnel almost right now. The way the lights shine out there. Now you got the rider going to assist his buddy. You know what? They might not even have known each other until, say, 20 minutes ago, when the first time they got into a bind. And now, right now, they're best friends. They're going to help each other, and they're going to take it all the way to the finish line.
It could even be even better if they're actually buddies, and then when they get back to the truck, they can give each other, they'll have good stories to discuss as they, get ready to go to bed tonight, and then as they're driving home tomorrow after they get done with their racing and everything, about how I pushed you more than you pushed me, or I pulled you more than you pulled me, kind of a situation.
You and I both left races afterwards where we're driving, and it takes us about 2 or 3 hours to come out of that zone where we're so pumped up, and excited. Before we hit that magic wall, it just finally, the adrenaline just stops flowing. But those 2 or 3 hours after a race, they can be as intense as the race sometimes.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's why sometimes I crush too many beers after I get done racing. I feel like the adrenaline is flowing a little bit too much, so I just wind up like I feel like I need to go through 3 quicker than I should.
Hey, I watched my friend Robert Naughton race a local racer not too long ago, and he was cramping up so bad. The guy walked up to him and said, "Here, drink this. It's going to fix it." He looked at him and he says, "What is that?" He goes, "Pickle juice. Jar of dill pickle juice, minus the pickles. Get that salt back in the body." It worked.
Yeah, it's actually interesting about talking about pickle juice. That is now
Here we go. Here comes another finisher down. Give them a big cheers. You can buy it.
legitimate product you can buy and use, and they are at all the mountain bike events. I've seen them at dirt bike events. It really does work.
Now, when they gonna come out and say that a cheeseburger is the right thing to eat?
I think we're fighting.
You think so? Maybe my training. I was thinking cheeseburgers and chocolate shake probably is.
I'm going to tell you they taste really good. But I don't know if it's the best for training.
Of course, people look at me and they're like, walk away from the cheeseburger. Walk away. Do it quickly.
Well, I'm definitely not going to tell you how to live your life. I'll let you do it, and I'll let you enjoy it.
Well, you're a young man with young kids, and you got to have the fitness to chase them around for the next 15 to 18 years or so.
Yeah, what's great, we were, talking about my young kids. We talked about Noah Keppel and Gary Keppel, right?
Yeah.
His father out here. We've got Max Kirsten. He's out here with his father, Marshall Kirsten.
Yep.
Like some of the discussions, I saw Cody Webb's father is out here. I had so many great conversations talking about their dads,
Yeah.
right? And how they got their kids into riding and all the great camaraderie that they had and the fact that they were growing up riding dirt bikes together. And that is so cool. And I, luckily enough, did have that with my father. He's the one who got me into riding. And I think that's the way to do it. When you're out there with your friends and your family, it's one thing. But to be out there with your father or your mother or whoever it is that does ride in your family, it just really is something special to kind of have and to give to your kids.
And this race, without a doubt, has a huge family component to it. As you're saying, fathers, moms are out here, wives, girlfriends, significant others, whatnot. They come out here and support their family member, as I would say, and you know what? They're going to cheer them on no matter where they finish. They're going to be happy. A lot of times just seeing them at the end of the race is like winning, without a doubt. And right now, we've got some big-time winners out there. These are our sportsman riders, or amateur riders, as we might call them. Like I said, these guys don't get paid to do this. They took their hard-earned money. These entries are not cheap to do this race because this race is not cheap to put on. They came out here and everybody's doing their job. We're getting it done, and the finish line is in sight. They are looking to clear that Ditto tire and call it a day.
And it's really been fun to watch as well as how the segment of racing has grown. It's been very large in Europe for a very long time, but that kind of makes sense because they have very few places that they can ride. So they're going to have these extreme enduro events that get put on, and they just want to ride their motorcycles. So they're going to sign up for it, whether they're ready for it or not. But over here, it's definitely taken a little bit longer to take off, and I'm glad that we're starting to have a little bit more of a national presence within that. So we're starting to see state championships at the AMA level, and there's talk, of course, of some form of a national championship form within all of these extreme enduro events. So the gentlemen that are out there right now, and the one lady from Apple Valley, California, which I believe is right around the corner, is they're going to have that opportunity to go gain that amateur national championship in this style of racing. And this style is gnarly. It's extreme enduro.
One of the guys that was kind of lit up the extreme type stuff is when Taddy Wazuziak shows up at Aaronsburg on a clapped out old motorcycle, an old KTM, belonged to a friend of his. Of course, the guy was a world ranked trials rider, but he brought an old bike to the race. And then he goes out and does really good in the qualifier. And son of a gun, KTM walks over and says, we got a little hot rod we'd like for you to ride if you want to. provided him a bike, gear, clothing. Off he went, and the rest is history. You know, the guy's a multi-time winner. Probably was the finest rider of his time. Came to the United States, showed everybody how to ride endurocross.
There are time
My
limits in
God,
certain
some of
sections,
these guys
so if you're waiting
like
for
Webb
somebody
and
at a certain
Haker
point,
and
we'll try and
Corey
confirm
Funder,
for you.
Kyle Redmond, Max Gerson stepped up and said, okay,
Coming down here for
I'll
King
race
of
with you,
Motos,
buddy.
finishing in
Not only did they
Schampa.
race with him, they beat him.
Yeah, it's definitely, he was one of the ones that really pushed David Knight, because David Knight was doing a fantastic job in the Endurocross series, but when Tadej Zuzak came over, he really pushed David Knight, and then he raised the bar. And then once that bar was raised, everybody else had to get there to meet him. And then, of course, Cody Webb beat him in the Endurocross Championship, and now Cody Webb and Colton Haker, now that they've both done the same thing, they've raised the bar another level, and now that's where everybody has to train. Everybody needs to compete at to make sure that they're going to try to win one of those championships. So it sounds like we've actually had our first team finish. So we were talking about the teams a little bit. So those are the riders that decided that they wanted to go out there with their buddy and make sure that they could have that one person that helped them finish or help them over obstacles if they were having other kind of issues. And it sounds like 3T is our first team finisher. So congrats to those guys. We're going to check out our paperwork and get the names so that we can push that along to you guys and get that information out there. But yeah, congrats to those guys, because I think that's the way I'd want to do it if I could have that kind of thing.
And like we suspected, it is Gitchell and Wayne Dickert out there. Now Wayne, of course, was on your bike, on the Sherco bike.
On the Sherco,
So
good man.
now we're going to see two of those bikes through the finish tonight.
I like it. It's not, and I didn't ride a single one of them, unfortunately. Probably for the better right now.
Well, the
but
good
still.
news is you get to cheer for the Sherco, and the better news is you didn't have to beat yourself up to do it.
Or my own bike. You guys might not know that they actually went up jackhammer twice. They went up jackhammer, came back
Wayne
down
Dickert has
sledgehammer,
been with top
went up
guys. Both
jackhammer
Jason
again, and then came up and
Gitchell and
over
Wayne
and
have
came down
been
Schampa.
top contenders in the vet class in the Endurocross series around the country. So it wasn't a surprise to see these guys take the team, I guess kind of for them, a team victory tonight. First team across the finish line.
Well, obviously, it's very dark at Chocolate Thunder right now. We're waiting for some more riders to come in. I wonder if there's a chance that our friends in the booth could pull up the map for us and see where some of those riders might be coming into Chocolate Thunder.
This year, from what I see, everybody's got professional lights out under their helmets and their bikes to make sure they can see, because clearly flashlights for Walmart will not help you see. Again, thank you guys. Thank you from Jimmy Lewis. Thank you, King of the Motos. Thank you for King of the Hammers for allowing King of the Motos to be a participant with this. We appreciate you guys all being here and cheering all the amateur riders through. Again, these aren't sponsored riders. They're just riders out here trying to prove a point that they can do something that somebody told them they couldn't do.
All right, let's take a quick look at this map. Oh, so what? Yeah, so Wayne Dickert, our 3T member that we were talking about, looks like he is heading his way towards the finish. And we've got Tucker Hopkins. Nice, so another amateur coming in, get ready to work his way towards Chocolate Thunder. Rodrigo Lopes, another amateur out there having fun. Keeping is actually showing 0 miles an hour, so he might be at a moment where he's taking a rest. We got Nick McGowan there, another amateur, 104V. All right, guys, we're going to have more action for you after this. Thanks you for tuning in, but don't you worry, we're coming back with more. Enjoy some commercials.
Okay, so some of you might not know, hopefully everybody knows now.
We know what we can do. Now, it's time for the world to see.
At Warn, we live, breathe, and dream off-roading. It's in our DNA, it's in our blood. And this year, we decided to build the ultimate off-road warrior. To get us into trouble, and to get us out.
For 2014, the Warren team decided that we needed to go anywhere, do anything bad boy that'll take us to the proving grounds. So we started with the brand new JK and sent it off to AEV for their brute conversion that will be unveiled at the 2013 SEMA show.
AEV stretched the frame of the JK a total of 23 inches, enclosed the cab, added a truck bed, and put a 5.7-liter Hemi V8 under a new heat-dissipating hood.
In order to make clearance for 37-inch tires mounted on 17-inch wheels, we added a 4-inch lift kit on top of upgraded and beefier axles, knuckles, and hubs.
We added Dana front and rear axles, plus Warn premium hubs. Skyjacker 4-inch lift, M95 monotube shocks, air lockers for maximum off-road traction, 17-inch beadlock wheels, and mud terrain KM2 tires.
Because we plan on taking this Jeep to some extreme locations, we needed to have some extreme accessories.
We added Warn SDV 160 lights and a set of super bright Warn W400 HID lights, fender flares from Bushwhacker, and a high lift jack for those tough jams.
Of course, we can't forget about the most reliable winch on the market. The Warren Xeon 10S has the strength and reliability that we might need in case we get ourselves stuck in a sticky situation.
The Warn Xeon 10S features Warn's own Spidura synthetic rope. Lightweight, easy to handle, and strong. 10,000-pound pulling capacity, amazing efficiency, and great line speed. A natural fit for the brute. We've taken this rig to the next level. Find out how you can go prepared with our full line of off-road accessories, including the new Xeon winch. Check out the full line of Warn products at warn.com.
Hammer King Productions is pleased to announce Armada as the official industrial machine partner of Ultra 4 Racing and King of the Hammers 2018. Armada machines are utilized by top fabricators as important tools for innovation and the evolution of Ultra 4 vehicles and customized parts. Come join us on the lake bed in Hammertown to see these innovative tools showcased and demonstrated at the 2018 Nitto King of the Hammers.
Well, you know what? Got a lone biker coming down Chocolate Thunder, we believe, right now. So for those of you who might be out there, we think that's Joe McNeil. Hey, Joe, good job, my friend.
Looks like he's making that attempt to split the new window.
Oh, yeah.
So straight up, right a little.
But there's nobody there to kind of show him the way.
It's very dark for him.
No breadcrumbs to follow.
And that's the tough part, is there's definitely tracks, but when you can't see them, it's as if they do not exist.
Yeah, it's like you're being the first person there.
It is kind of fun being able to see that little red light blink there. What happened to his lights? Did he turn them off on us?
Might have. There it goes.
There we go.
Probably a little nerve-wracking, I imagine.
Well, there we go. Hey, Joe McNeil.
Hear that two-stroke starting to rip and slam. It's literally flying its way up the mountainside there. You know, for every inch of movement forward, there's probably about 14 to 50 revolutions of the rear tire before you get an inch of movement.
One of the things I always dislike about when I'm in these situations is the times that I have fallen backwards more than I have actually made my way up any part of the mountain. And it is very depressing, but it's one of the things that you just have to deal with when you're in these situations.
Like I say, he's got the motor off right now. We just see the flashing light. How's he looking around? I don't think he even has a really good helmet light. Do you?
It could be in one of those situations where we've seen a couple guys where the bike light might be the only light that's left, and so he might be kind of trying to reserve it, or maybe his lights are going out in general because he's been out there for so long.
You know, this is a couple years back. Cody Webb, I think the first year that he won this race, he was running the hand grips, the grip heaters, but they were drawing so much amperage that it wasn't keeping the battery charged up. So he basically rode a bike with electric start with no electric starter to function. But I think in the process of the rest of the day, he only had to kick it probably maybe a dozen times, whereas a person like me would be maybe 1,000 times. KTM first put that electric start on that motorcycle, people laughed at him and said, "That's crazy. If you need an electric start, you shouldn't be riding." Well, guess what? The rest of the world finally figured it out too. That's why Honda has electric start. That's why Yamahas have it now.
It only took 20 years, but all the Japanese brands finally started putting electric starts on the bike.
Waiting for Kawasaki and Suzuki. Of course, in my case, I'm waiting for Suzuki to do almost anything. Man, they've had a tough time.
So we've still got that blinking red light out there in the middle of nowhere somewhere in Chocolate Thunder.
And we have the tracker device that probably has an idea where he kind of sort of maybe's at. Big gaps between our riders now. A little light on the subject. We saw some.
In case some of you just showed up, we still got amateur riders coming down the hill. Amateur Moto rider.
We're hearing this camera folks that are out there. Once in a while I hear it, I'm looking around up here and I'm thinking, where's that bike at? Well, that bike's on the camera. That's what it's on. It's on the big screen here. Light is working. Maybe he's finding his way.
As that rider comes by, make sure you cheer them on.
It's definitely a treacherous line to pick. You got to figure out if you're going to go the more right path or the left path. And once you kind of decide that, then you've actually got to go,
they stay just on the inside of those flags.
It's so tough to
Pennant flags on the top of the
how
hill.
steep or how deep some of those sections are.
Down into the finish.
The contrast is so high, your depth perception gets thrown off because of the deep shadow.
Finish is basically a
The fact
funnel
that
that
the light
funnels them through.
such a high contrast.
They got to go up and over, around, in.
Before I make that statement, I'll take a quick look here. I think he's maybe without a helmet light at this point, from the looks of things.
Yeah, that's a tough place to be because when the bike is looking in one direction, you want to look around for a line or figure out where you're trying to go. That's definitely not going to make it very easy when all you can do is see in the direction of the front wheel and maybe potentially just the light.
Here we go. It's finishing. The first motor of King of the Motos. Keep cheering him.
Somebody hit the light switch for him. Maybe calling it a day.
They had a day.
So I guess he's over there going, okay, what's the quickest way back? You know, well, that is the quickest way back.
So you know they have the yellow big trackers on.
We were
and
at the finish line.
We can see exactly where they went, what sections of the course they cut. Technically, that makes
Co-host here, Brian, having cold air and the dust is getting to him a little bit here. Kind of coming in from Texas with a little bit of that crud stuff that's been floating around everywhere.
Remember, they're doing this at night.
But he's going to make it. He's toughing it out. Just like the races, we have to put up with the cold and the wind and the. Looks like one of our street riders coming from a track crew actually rides by us right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's back and forth. We had a conversation. It's like, I quit. You gotta go back and finish.
He's got some good motion going. We can see the arrows. Remember, those guys had to carry those stakes up there, pound them in the ground. The course workers, the people that are out there actually physically on the track and working it, are just unbelievable.
And most of those people out there are volunteers, so huge thanks to everybody that's helped put the course on and helped volunteer to make sure that these events could go off the way that they have.
One of the guys that was helping Jimmy out for the last, I think, 2 weeks, Justin Lineweaver, who literally just lives kind of down the road here. He can ride from his house out to here if he chooses to. Justin and his dad have a pretty productive business. They make custom camshafts for Harley Davidson. Everything from hot rod street bike up to full-blown fuel. So
all of the staff and volunteers appreciate you guys being out here.
I think this may be bike number 54. Tony Garul is what we're hearing. He's hearing the cheers now. I'm glad there's still folks out there hanging out, cheering them on.
The beauty of the King of the Motos, as you can see on the technicality of what they're doing going uphill. They're just eye-spying. Sometimes they'll get off the bike, walk up the hill a little bit, and see where they can find the trail. The trail looks different going up than it does going down. Sometimes they get up, they hit their bike. Some of these guys carry tow straps and actually tow their bike up the hill behind them. They are not allowed any outside help. Sometimes you will see the riders work together. That is allowed. They can help each other up the hill. And to give you some insight into
What do you think, Brian? I tell you what, you think he's
Jimmy works on this all
looking for some help out there, wishing maybe somebody would come along and give him a helping hand? Or
I think he is digging deep with the willpower right now. He is going, you know what? I know that I am right there. There's that finish arc. I'm going to make it. I've just got to find a way to dig deep and keep pushing, keep riding.
There it is.
And hopefully not run out of battery power.
There you go. You know, he's already seen basically where the finish line's going to be. He's just got to get there. That's what he's working on right now, without a doubt. Takes his hot rod for a little more. Now, these guys are going to come back tomorrow. They're going to have fresh tires. They're going to have you know, maybe new grips. They're going to get some straightened levers if that's a problem. They're going to have the bike ready to go, and they're going to do it all over again. And it's going to get tougher. It's not going to make it easier.
Yeah, the good thing that the amateurs will have a little bit of a break, and they won't have to start until 10 a.m. for their second race, but by 10 a.m. that'll be the third race for the professionals. So the pros will be out there at 9 a.m. in their extreme section. Jimmy Lewis has put together for them to make it a tad bit tougher.
So let's run that down again. The pros are going to start at 9 o'clock.
Yep, so they're going to start at 9 and do a short, less than 5 mile section that is extremely tough and extreme. And when they get done with that, then they have to come and line right back up and start at 10 a.m. again, and that's when everybody will go off, the pros and amateurs. And they will go out for their long 100-plus mile event.
That's
so
true.
It could be anywhere between 3 to 5 hours for those guys.
You know, we did, one year we did a 3-lap kind of main event type thing, where our pros went 3 laps. And the majority of our amateurs did 1 lap when they did, in the time they did 3.
Yeah, it sounds like Jimmy Lewis has tried to continuously, push the envelope and continuously step up how hard he can make this, but it keeps blowing his mind just how extremely well these guys keep gaining technical skills as they become better riders year in and year out. Obviously, as you've got it to move your way forward. The way that the shadows cast, you don't have no idea how steep and or deep sometimes. I want to go by and check out what that caution tape is for over there, because we keep seeing that, but we don't see any riders there. But there's got to be something worth putting caution tape on for if that's hanging there the way that it's draped across that section.
Looks like we got a couple bikes coming back down the high section of Schampa Thunder. Down there in the lower section, we just got a finisher. We've got another rider going up, working their way up to the high point of the rock section down here at the bottom of Schampa Thunder. Looks like we got a couple bikes coming back down the high section of Schampa Thunder. Down there in the lower section, we just got a finisher. We've got another rider going up, working their way up to the high point of the rock section down here at the bottom of Schampa Thunder. All finishing through the Lido tires, arch. And it's just one rider coming down top left limiter of the section. Looks like he's riding a bicycle downstairs. Another rider coming in. You guys could ever imagine. Two riders in the lower section. It looks like it's going to catch up. Taking a break. You're doing great. You just got to keep going up the hill, then you get to come down. And you're done for the night. Only to come back tomorrow morning and race again. We have another rider coming down, upper top under right now. Notice how bright those lights are. I think your truck lights are bright. Again, thank you very much for braving the cold. It's dropped down a little bit in temperature. But again, these riders really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Volunteers and staff appreciate you guys being out here. cheer him on as he comes by. Got a finisher coming down through the final 20 feet, working their way down. Two riders still going up. This lower section of Chocolate Thunder, the Schampa King of the Motos 2018. Come on, cheer them on. Make more noise so they can hear you up there. I'm sure they can hear my voice. You're still doing the King of the Motos. You're still in it. Got another competitor coming down the hill of Upper Chocolate Thunder. Got all the amber lights. Got two riders coming down Upper Chocolate Thunder. And they come by, make some noise as they go by. And you're going to start noticing they're going to be teamed up a little bit. They're all trying to beat jet sweepers. Riders, you guys are all looking great. You are almost done. So you can see sometimes there's traffic. That's another element for these riders out here at King of the Motos. They're working their way through. Sometimes there's a rider in front of them. They can't get this one, but they're going to try. There you go. You are to the top. King of the hill right now.
In so good that it's going to be like a freeway tomorrow, right?
That'll be Chocolate Thunder 2 next year.
Yeah, there you go.
There'll be a whole nother line for all the trucks and UTVs.
You know, this year is is a lot harder. Jimmy Lewis last year predicted that it would take him X amount of time, and he was way off. So this year he gave him more time on the bike, without a doubt. And you know what? He might just sit back and say, I think we need to make next year's night race a little bit harder.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think it'd be cool, too, to start kind of at 4 or 5 o'clock and go for a good 3 hours and go into the night at that point. So it adds a whole nother level to that. I think would be a really neat way to do that. Maybe go from like 5 to 8. But then the amateurs, they'd be out there for
What you do is you got to find the hillside where they're climbing so that when they're going up, they're going into the sun, so they can't see anything. You know, that would make
That's just another part of the event.
Oh, yeah. It's
in
just
West
another
Texas,
obstacle.
In West Texas, for the national or for the enduros, when those go off and there's still an 8 o'clock key time, the sun is still coming up. So whenever you're headed east and you're looking directly at the sun, it is definitely extremely hard to race into the sun as it is blinding you at 8 o'clock in the morning while you're starting an enduro.
Well, how about how Score does it with Baja? They start the bikes at night. You're racing at midnight.
And that's a safety factor, is that correct? So that they're
more
trying
in front of the
trophy trucks?
But those guys have got to ride into the sunrise in the morning, and it's just brutal. Starting the day for the trucks, start at night for the bikes. We just start in the dark period here at King of the Motos. Brought to you by the fine folks at Schampa. Some great off-road gear available. Check it out. Of course, the best way to do it these days is just click on the website and you can find that product and see what they've got to offer. You know, I just wonder, how did we get along without the internet? Trio of riders there working their way up the hillside. Lots of banner. Actually, there's 4 riders there now as I take a look at it. Whoops.
King of the hill. Now you
And the one rider making the turn, which now brings you down the hill and into the finish line area, I believe. All happening out there at Chocolate Thunder.
I appreciate it.
The notorious Chocolate Thunder.
All the King of the Motos staff and volunteers appreciate it. Still have 4 riders working their way through this final section. 1 rider is just about to go down and finish.
Tom Walker, Kurt Ashley, and Brad Wagner, I believe it is the trio of riders we were looking at.
Yeah, for those guys to come in together, it's great because now they have a lot of light to work with.
Yeah, when they're
They're
all
not coming
together.
in singularly.
Shoot, when those guys all get in there, it looks like a football stadium all of a sudden.
It definitely gets a lot brighter when those guys are in there together.
Actually,
and now
thought,
they can kind of watch lines too.
Yeah, I actually thought maybe there was like a portable light out there someplace. The way it was lighting up the rocks, but that's just the riders, the bikes themselves. Now he's got hung up.
A deep breath and a moment to collect himself before he continues forward. That is a very beat down man right now.
There it is. Well, he raised the head up and he let out the clutch and the bike moved and he's making progress. Well, the course worker's standing up there behind him. You can see reflective gear. Like I said, there are people there if needed, but these riders are like, nope, I can do this. I can do it on my own.
I got myself this far. I might as well get myself out of here.
I got myself into this predicament, so now I'm going to finish it and come on home. Come on. 10 more feet and you're there. Roll it off that rock. There it is.
Oh yeah, he's excited. Give that bike a little rev.
Got a little built-up 2-strokes oil out there in the exhaust pipes.
Yep, that's what
out.
happens when it lays on its side for a little too long.
Yeah, I'm a happy man. How about that Cody Webb riding that new technology motorcycle?
Two more riders coming down upper Chocolate Thunder. Down here in the lower section, we got 1 rider coming down through the Nito Tire finish line. King of the Motos. 2018 finisher. Moto 1.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to step off the stage, but we are going to continue to run the footage up here. I want to thank you very much for coming out. Brian Pierce, of course, doing an awesome job. I'm Dave Brocious, and we want to remind you that the live chat is still up and going. If you have questions, you can go back, sign up, ultra4racing.com/live. That'll get you right through, and you can stay right up to date with us. Like we said, we will finish the live feed tonight, but we are going to head out and get ready for tomorrow, because day 2, live video feed till 10 o'clock is our cutoff time for our riders, where they actually tell the riders they can't continue onward. But we will be back tomorrow morning, and it's going to be unbelievably awesome. So thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow at King of the Motos. Schampa, thank you for being on board.
Work together, figure out the line, communicate a little bit. It's not really teamwork as it is sportsmanship. You are watching the 2018 King of the Motos here in Hamilton, Johnson Valley, California. And we have light from the top of the hill. We have 2 runners who are going to be up here at lower chuck up under. 45 finishers across the finish line. We were just over 80 starters, so that means we have at least 30 riders on the course. We've got a few abandonments that don't have a number on that. The cutoff time here, the finish is 10 p.m. We still will have some that will try and finish, even though we may cut them off. They will try and finish, and they will actually get credit for it. We will make no runner. Of course, we have sweepers that are following the last ones that will go all the way through. If our riders close enough to finish, we will let them finish. Watching the two riders work their way up the hill. They're working together, helping each other to guide through the trail. Sportsmen. Yay. Guys, that's great to see up there. Finish line. Where they will officially become finishers of Moto 1, the Schampa 2018 King of the Motos. Here we go. Cheer these two riders on coming down. We got another rider coming down upper Chocolate Thunder. These two riders are finishing right now. Sorry, I don't have numbers for you. I'm not close enough to see them. Here we go. First of the two is finishing right now. And just so you know, like I said, come up here another day and walk through that section where they're finishing right now. You will be blown away what it looks like facing down the hill and knowing that they have to ride a motorcycle through it. It's pretty impressive. Cheer on our finishers there. We got two more coming down upper Chocolate Thunder here. Lower section of Chocolate Thunder. And another rider staging up, watching the line. so it's 9:30. 10 p.m. is our cutoff. We have 2 riders coming down upper Chocolate Thunder. 2 riders up in the lower section of Chocolate Thunder, working their way up the hill. Go up the hill. Just nuance. Some riders just go for it. Some riders set up. But they try. In case you're curious, we got like us our media team here. Again, it's great to hear you guys cheer. Just keep cheering them. They can hear you up there. Eventually get their name. There you go. Make some noise for you. Keep going up the hill. Again, pretty sure all our pros and amateurs, these are all amateurs. These guys aren't except for by themselves, maybe their spouses, maybe a brother, maybe a sister. They're all working their way through this. What goes up must come down here, the King of the Motos. Got a rider working their way down towards the finish here. Actually, 2 other riders working their way up. I think we got a rider working their way down. Upper Chocolate Thunder. That is a rider coming down over Chocolate Thunder, correct? Okay, it is, for sure. We got confirmation there. It's hard to tell. You're almost there, buddy. One more climb up, and then you can come down a little bit. So you focus the wheel so you can see that tire. Okay, so you can see it. So we have all ages here. Our youngest rider competing is 14 years old. Lower section of Chocolate Thunder. Casey just showed up. You weren't sure how long these riders are going to ride. They started at 6 p.m. tonight. A little bit after 6 for the amateurs. Literally minutes after 6. They are working their way through this course. We got another finisher for the Moto 1 here at the Schampa King of the Motos 2018. Right back to the right time now. I want to thank you guys again for all coming out, all the volunteers, all the staff, everybody here, the riders. They appreciate you guys for being out here. They appreciate you for cheering them on. Some of you may have come up to see something else happen here at Chocolate Thunder, but you get to see some of the bravest competitors out here on motorcycles, on two wheels. Iron Man in these races. It's really important that you guys cheer them out, let them know that you're here, let them know that they're appreciated. Thank you again for coming out to the 2018 King of the Motos.
ahead, guys, almost.